What up? What up? What up? Welcome to your Wednesday. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Shout out to everybody coming in the room. Shout out to everybody coming in the room. Oh man, I worked very hard on that list. We'll give people a chance to get in the room. We're gonna be talking about some reasonable doubt today. We're gonna be talking about the list that I was finally able to put together, the top 25 hip hop features of all time. I appreciate that, Darren. It means a lot coming from Darren. These lists are very difficult to put together. You know what I mean? Like it's not an easy thing to put together these lists. I needed a whole show to do it. Even going from the feedback that you guys were giving me on Monday, granted, I didn't listen to the Monster thing. I didn't listen to Renegade and really didn't listen to the Control thing either. What happened last minute was I realized that Symphony, Kane, and G Rap wasn't on the list. I was like, oh no, I can't put this out like this. I'm gonna look real crazy not having Symphony on there. And unfortunately, Control was 25 and got bumped off. I think what I'm gonna do though, I'm gonna put together an honorary mentions list, which is gonna be side by side with that. And I got like 20 honorable mentions. And yeah, just seeing what people are saying. One of the blaring things though, I had Tupac Smile on there. And I know Biggie's on there a few times, and it wasn't forced. You know me, man. I don't force anything. I think that Biggie's feature on Can't Stop the Rain was deserved. I think his feature on Victory was deserved. I think that his feature on Can't You See, I think anybody would say that's deserved. And I think that the flavor in your ear is deserved. Like when we look at it, man, and I discovered this while, you know what I'm saying, putting together this list and thinking about these features and doing all the digging. I'm like, man, Biggie is the feature king. And when we talk about Bad Boy and Puff being like the, you know what I'm saying, the remix guy, whatever, we invented the remix. A large part of that is Biggie and his the input and his output rather on these remixes and on features. And when you think about it, that's a big part of Biggie's legacy. They talk about Biggie only having 2 albums and being ranked so high, but the work that he was doing on features, and we could even get technical and say Get Money and Players Anthem were technically features as well. Like Biggie was out here getting busy with the features during a time period where features weren't even that, I don't want to say that prevalent, but people weren't getting around doing features in the way that Biggie was. And when he was doing them, like his impact was felt. And to this day, um, not agreeing with Kim being top 5, I will say this, man. Some of these songs on this list, and I'm gonna put this full list out there for the people who haven't seen it yet. Some of these songs have grown in legacy over time. And I think that Kim's feature on Quiet Storm is one of those. I think that the feature is dope. I always thought it was dope. But I think it's like covering up my face. That's dope. Let me see. Let me look around here. But anyway, I think that I think it was dope when it came out. But at the same time, over the years, no one can deny that the legacy of that verse has grown and grown over time. We talk about how well it aged or whatever. I mean, it's one of those verses that everybody knows the words to. And I kind of balance this thing off of quality and just impact and notoriety as well. Like you got Cannabis Beats from the East in there, which might not be notable to the mainstream, but from a quality standpoint, it is next level. There are a lot of breakthrough verses in here. You got AZ Life's a Bitch. You got Beats from the East once again. You got I didn't put Live at the Barbecue on here. Another breakthrough verse on here is Twista's Po Pimpin'. It's a breakthrough verse. Scenario from Busta Rhymes. Another breakthrough verse. Platinum Plus, man. Wait for this honorable mentions list. This honorable mentions list is going to be crazy. And some people might think that some of these records might need to be replaced with some of the honorable mentions. But yeah, Big Daddy Kane Platinum Plus is crazy. That is a great feature. I had to put, but yeah, the Symphony is the Juice Crew. And actually, no, it's not on the Juice Crew's album, Darren. That's actually on Marley Marl's album. So it's technically a feature because it's Marley Marl's album. It is a compilation disc, if you will. But I can say that it is a feature. But if we don't want to count that as a feature, Y'all let me know that too, because I'm all the way open to feedback. But I do feel like, it's Molly Mall's song technically. It's technically on Molly Mall's album because the Juice Crew doesn't have an album per se. Mad Max in the super chat says, New York basketball, all caps. Yeah, shout out to New York, man, making moves. That's great. It's great to see teams making moves. I'm an Atlanta Hawks fan, but like I was telling somebody yesterday, I love New York so much, and I love my people in New York and my times in New York. I always root for New York to be better. I was rooting for the Knicks to get far in the playoffs this year. And if the Knicks would have went to the finals, I would have rooted for the Knicks. So I'm happy for you guys. Hope that continues. Hope that materializes into something, because I know you guys have a superstar on your hands right now, and the guy who really plays. Hopefully he can stay healthy to keep that thing going. But back to the list though. Let me pull it up, man. And I know we're going to pull it up on the back end, but I'm looking at some of the feedback that people are giving me right now. I just posted it on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all of that. I want to see some of these comments, man. Somebody said 22 is questionable. Okay. Said Renegade is questionable. Y'all want to talk about Renegade? I put Renegade on here because, I mean, it's a notable feature. And again, all jokes aside, and y'all know how I'm probably not the biggest advocate for Eminem when it comes to these all-time lists. But the first thing that people go to when they justify him as an MC, wherever they want to rank him, Renegade always comes up in the conversation. And truth of the matter is, all bias aside, the Blueprint is a classic album. The Blueprint is important for the 2000s, especially that first couple of years in hip hop of the 2000s. It's Jay-Z's second best album, in my opinion, and we're going to talk about his first, Reasonable Doubt, in a second. It's probably one of the most impactful albums of Jay-Z's career, even if it didn't sell as many as some of the others. And Renegade is a pivotal, memorable point on that album for a lot of people. And also, Eminem's performance on that song is stellar. It's a great feature. It's everything you want in a feature. I think Jay-Z was quoted one time when he was on Cypher Sound and Rosenberg's show, the Juan Epstein podcast. They're asking him about, that notion that Eminem killed him on Renegade. And he says, that's why you get a feature, because you want somebody to do a great job. You don't get a feature from somebody for them to not do a great job on your record. And everything that he wanted to bring to the table, even the controversy and everything that was surrounding Eminem at the time, and how, some people were taking his lyrics, I think he hit all of that on the head. Like even the whole role model thing, well, not the song Role Model, but people acting like he was a role model and don't look at me to this, and I'm not a politician. And no, he covered everything on Renegade, and I think it's a very quality feature, and it does deserve, from an impact and from a quality standpoint, to be mentioned as a top 25 feature all time, regardless of how I personally feel about the person's catalog from beginning to end. That one snapshot and that one moment's a great moment. Ahmad with the super chat says, peace. Will JJ Redick be the quickest hire and fire in NBA history? LOL. This is the thing about coaching a LeBron-led team. LeBron brings you in. Well, all right, listen. I don't think that there's any turnover rate at the level of any team that, and I'm not picking on LeBron. I love LeBron. I think he might be the greatest NBA player of all time, basketball player of all time. I personally got Michael, but number two, just being objective, I would say LeBron. And if we're looking at all the numbers and everything, I could say LeBron. I just go with my eye test and what I've seen. But when it comes to coaches, and especially at this part in LeBron's career, it's just a crazy turnover rate because the expectations are unreasonable. They're looking for a coach to come in there and win championships on a roster and with a star who's probably not going to win any more championships. It becomes, we're putting somebody in the place to blame for the possible shortcomings that are inevitable. And JJ Redick's the next up, unfortunately. And I don't know even how you coach LeBron James because once again, JJ Redick was drafted well after LeBron. And LeBron is more than likely, I don't want to say more than likely, let's just keep it all the way honest. He's more knowledgeable about the game than damn near everybody. Who can actually coach him? He has more experience than everybody. He came in the game with already a level of basketball intelligence and basketball IQ that damn near nobody has. And now he has 22 years of NBA experience under his belt. How do you coach somebody like that? The only way to go in there is to say, you know what, LeBron, we're going to do this thing together. This has to be a collaborative coaching effort. And I'm just going to be your eyes outside of the court or off the court that you can't see when you're on. Like, I don't even know how you coach LeBron James. If you're not Greg Popovich, I don't even think Rick Carlisle could coach LeBron James. If you're not Phil Jackson or somebody that's like 70-something years old that has crazy NBA experience, I don't even know how you can coach LeBron James, especially somebody who was drafted after him and is retired well before him. How do you even coach him? Mad Max in the Super Chat says, they gassed Renegade because it was how he got the best of. Oh, sorry. I think he meant they gassed Renegade because it was Hove he got the best of. Well, yeah, I mean, of course, because this is the thing, man. Like, back to LeBron. If somebody played LeBron in a one-on-one and they got him, they're never going to let LeBron forget that. Let's just say that Jamal Crawford, I love Jamal Crawford. Shout out to him, man. One of my favorite six men, if not the best six men ever. If he went out there and got the best of LeBron James in one series and was busting his ass or even got equal to him or whatever, we would never forget it. So, yeah, if you get on a record on Jay-Z's second best album, or most people feel like the Blueprint's top 3, some people think it's number 1, and you get him on a song and it appears that you killed him on the record, and then the greatest MC of all time and Nas goes back and reiterates on Ether that he killed you on the record, yeah, it's a big moment. It is. And you're going to inflate it because of who he got the best of on that record. Mad Max for the Super Chat says, it's a turnover rate because Bron has no tact. He's a diva. I mean, look, in LeBron's defense, most NBA stars are. But I think that LeBron is in a unique situation where he never really had a coach to reel him in from day one. The only, and I wouldn't even say the only, in Miami, when they had Eric Spoelstra, that was more Pat Riley at the GM position being able to garner that level of respect. The way that they disrespected Spoelstra on that court, I was like, this is unbelievable. Shout out to Pat Riley for, keeping Eric Spoelstra and not allowing the big three or parts of the big three to bounce Eric Spoelstra in the way that most organizations would have. Mad Max says, Bron has no patience and he thinks he knows it all. Well, he's 22 years in his career, so he can't have a level of patience because he doesn't have that much time left on an NBA level. And he does know a lot. I mean, who knows more about basketball than LeBron James? I mean, he can be a know-it-all. He has 40,000 points. He's top 10 in rebounds and top 10 in assists. And he's won championships, and he's played in this league on the highest level since he was 17 years old. So, I mean, he does know a lot, Mad Max. Who knows more basketball than LeBron? Mad Max also says, like you're 4 and 6 in the finals. Humble yourself. Got to the 4 and 6 in the finals. Damn, get to the finals 10 times, you know a little bit of something. Mad Max also says, and he left Miami because Pat wouldn't baby him. Now, that might be the one thing that you and I agree on, Mad Max. I think that he left Miami because he knew that he wouldn't be able to call the shots. I wouldn't say baby, but he wouldn't be able to call the shots in the way that he's able to do in these other organizations. So, but yes, back to the list. People had an issue with Renegade. I would imagine most people don't, to be perfectly honest. Do y'all think that Biggie's feature on Shaq's Can't Stop the Rain is a top 25 feature? Should that be on there? Method Man Shadow Boxing. I got that at 24. Biggie on Victory, I got that at 23. 22. Eminem on Renegade. Here's a controversial pick, but I knew this was a breakthrough verse. I spoke of breakthrough verses before. T.I. will Never Scared. I think that was very important for its era. There could be a level of bias here because I think that was a very important verse for our city, Atlanta specifically, and just for the crunk era, if you want to be honest. Like that whole crunk era, I believe, jumped off on Never Scared. And I think Never Scared is what it is because of T.I.'s verse. He jumped in there and damn near got on the path of being a superstar, right away. It means a lot for that era, I will say. Number 20, I got DMX, Money, Power, and Respect. Now, this is what I want to say about Money, Power, and Respect. That was one of those appearances, just like the Cannabis Beast from the East. Like, who is this guy? And you got the locks on here. Jadakiss spitting one of the dopest verses that he had on that whole album. Going in. They say I got to get at that Forbes list. Shout out to Super Duper. We'll pull up that Forbes list. There's a couple things in there to talk about, but the only reason why we didn't really make the Forbes list a primary focus is I saw when I looked it up. First of all, when I saw the list, I thought it was somebody trolling in the name of Forbes. But when I looked it up, I saw that list came out in March. So I guess when it came out originally, nobody paid any attention to it because it was so bogus. But we'll touch on that list. I just don't understand a publication like Forbes putting together a top MCs list in the first place. Like it's like Vanity Fair giving us a top MCs list. Like why? And where do you have a level of credibility in that space anyway? Like I'm trying to think of something that's like I'm trying to think of something that we would make a list of that just wouldn't make any sense for our platform. Like if we're rating the top 10 country singers, I don't know. I mean, it just didn't make sense to me, and they proved with that list that they clearly didn't know what they were talking about. We're going to speak on this Lord Jamar and KRS thing too. Also, all right. Oh, we got a super chat here. Mad Max with the super chat says, Forbes list was disgusting. Cole at number 4. Okay, I see y'all want to talk about this. Let's do this. We'll talk about this. I'm gonna get back to this list real quick. We'll talk about this because I see that this hit people different. Somebody actually tagged me about it on Facebook too. I was like, okay, well, I wasn't gonna talk about it, but hey, might as well. Let's see. Let me find this list. Let me see. Give me 1 second since we live. Somebody saying, like, Mike, did you see this? Give me 1 second, guys. I'll just pull up the Forbes list. Pull it up from the. Here it is. I found it. All right. So Forbes, 50 greatest rappers of all time. Oh man, the first name I saw, guys, was Bad Bunny. I had to take a sip of yak on that. All right. Well, let me spare you the suspense. Jay-Z's number 1. But number 50, Talib Kweli. Number 49, Young Thug. Number 48, Cardi B. Number 47, Chief Keef. Number 46, Pusha T. Number 45, MIA. Whoa, MIA? Number 44, Takeoff. Number 43, Melly Mel. Shout out to Melly Mel making the list, though. Number 42, Prodigy. Number 41, Lupe Fiasco. And right after Lupe Fiasco, you got Bad Bunny at 40, Method Man at 39, E40 at 38, Rock Marciano at 37. That's interesting. Mad Matt with Super Chat says they got LL at 35. Who I got to smack for that? Go smack somebody at Forbes. Who put this list together? Y'all look that up for me, too. I think Ron's in the background trying to get the actual site up so we can find out who wrote this. And we could send y'all their Twitter page so you can tell them what you think. But anyway, 37, Rock Marciano. 36, MC Light. 35, LL Cool J. Whew. 34, Childish Gambino. All right, man. 34, Childish Gambino. And 33, Future. 32, Busta Rhymes. 31 Mos Def, and 30 Queen Latifah. Now, what do people have against LL Cool J to put Childish Gambino, Busta Rhymes, and Mos Def over him? I don't really understand that. What's going on with the screen? I don't really understand that, man. How do you actually have Mos Def? And I love Mos Def. I think in a vacuum, Mos Def is incredible, but the catalog and the career that LL Cool J has had, he's earned more respect than this, man. I mean, he should. But again, this is Forbes. But you would think that Forbes, being, let's just say, a pedestrian hip hop, I guess, fan, if you will, for lack of a better word, probably knows LL more than they know some of these other people that they're putting up. But anyway, Dr. Dre at 29. Listen, man. They did this on that other list they were putting together. Who was that? Was that Complex? When it was top 50 rappers all time. Why do they keep putting Dr. Dre on these rapper lists? I don't think there's ever, and Dr. Dre just won our producer tournament. Probably the greatest hip hop producer of all time, one of the greatest producers and musicians, greatest engineer that I think that this genre has ever seen. But as a rapper, I don't think that Dr. Dre would even say himself he's a top 50 rapper of all time. Like, do we even know any verses that Dr. Dre has written himself? I mean, and I'm not saying that to be, funny or whatever, but every Dr. Dre verse that we have was either written by Snoop, DOC, Ice Cube, Eminem. The list goes on, which is fine because he's the greatest producer we ever had. But why do they keep putting Dr. Dre on these rapper lists? Like, it makes no sense. Kendra with the super chat says, "Good evening. Do you think the Dungeon Family against Disturbing the Peace would be a good versus?" I don't think so because, well, one thing, you got Outkast's catalog versus Ludacris's catalog, which probably doesn't fare well for Luda. But you're not able to count 2 Chainz stuff, which I don't think would help Disturbing the Peace that much either. I don't think Disturbing the Peace maximized off of Shauna enough either. And I don't think Chingy's catalog is long enough. So I think Outkast and Goody Mob alone would kind of knock them out the box. And not to mention the range of content that Outkast and Goody Mob have. The range of content that they have in relation to the range that Disturbing the Peace would have, I think would just be too much for them. And how much they were able to change over a course of time. So it's I don't think that would be a fair matchup for Disturbing the Peace. And I'm trying to think who would be a fair matchup for Disturbing the Peace. I don't really know who would be. Yeah, 2 Chainz got a few joints. He does, but they're not on Disturbing the Peace. It would really help if 2 Chainz was counted in that, but you can't just count the guy that went out after he left Disturbing the Peace and blew up. So yeah, he doesn't count really. Dungeon Family also has Cool Breeze, also has Witchstock, also has Backbone. So if I'm doing a Dungeon Family versus, I got Watch for the Hook. This ain't even an Outkast or Goody Mob song. I got Holiday, if you know that. I got Backbone's Five Deuce Faux Trey. I could even go out there and mess around with some of Sleepy Brown's stuff. You could throw out there that Can't Wait record too. They just got a lot as a family and as a collective. And the other question would be, are we counting somebody like Killer Mike, which is second generation? Because technically he's Dungeon Family too. And if you want to count second generation, then boom, you got Future and Janelle Monáe, which isn't fair anymore. So no, I would say that, yeah, Disturbing the Peace doesn't fare well against Dungeon Family. But I think Disturbing the Peace had a dope roster. They just didn't maximize on their roster in ways that I think they really could have. Okay, so we got Mos Def at 31, Queen Latifah at 30, Dr. Dre at 29, Lauryn Hill at 28, Juice WRLD at 27, MF Doom at 26, Ice Cube at 25. Come on. Ice Cube at 25? Come on, guys. All right, Ice Cube at 25. The disrespect. 50 Cent at 24. DMX at 23. Big Daddy Kane at 22. Rakim at 21. I don't even want to read the rest of this list, man. You got Rakim at 21. And you got Kane at 22. Listen, man. Listen, man. I don't think Kane's 22, but that could be justified based on, the short length of Kane's catalog or whatever. But when you got Rakim at 21, come on, man. That's just disrespectful to the game, man. Like, do we understand what rap sounded like before Rakim? Rap was dope. Let me just say this: lyricism, not just rap. Yeah. Mad Max says Rakim at what? Yes. Rakim is at 21. Now, I'm gonna find out who put this list together. I was gonna let them slide. But having Rakim at 21 and Ice Cube at 25 is disrespectful to the game. And you shouldn't be able to put out these lists. What people do with these lists, let me just say this. And this is what I didn't want to do with this feature list. And that's why I never rush these lists. I know I take forever to get these lists done because I really want to get them right. I don't want to just put out lists just so I can troll the internet and get engagement based on having some whack ass songs on there. It's like, yo, why did you put that there? And that's what it feels like this is. And that's disrespectful to hip hop. But a lot of people put together these lists and put these whack notions together to be funny, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Put LL Cool J at 35 and put Ice Cube at 25 because they know people are going to react. They know people are going to share this stuff and they're going to get engagement. And whatever, man, get engagement a better way. Get engagement by putting together a dope list. And it's lazy, it's disrespectful, and it's cheating. You know what I'm saying? Like you need your credibility in this space just taken away. You can't just go out there and still have a license to go out here and put these whack ass lists out. And yeah, you could go out there one time and get your engagement and be funny and this and that, but the hip hop community needs to let you and everybody else know, and whoever put this list together know that you're not allowed in this space anymore. Man, Max with the super chat says these lists be artsy fartsy biased. Most Def over LL. Yeah, that's personal. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna lie, I had a couple of personal picks on my list. Method Man Shadowboxing is a personal pick, but I think is one of the best 25 features ever. LP with the super chat says, a mountain climber who plays an electric guitar. Shout out to the Jezza and shout out to LP dropping knowledge as always. Mad Max with the super chat says, I like Mos Def, but he's closer to ASAP Rocky than LL. That's the truth. And I like Mos Def a lot too. At one point, I could say he was probably one of my favorite rappers around. But see, the thing is, Mos Def, Yasin Bey, excuse me, I want to call people by their name, their preferred name. You had all the ability in the world and still do have all the ability in the world. But for whatever reason, you didn't put in the level of material or work, whatever, that some of your counterparts did. And whether they love or were inspired by the music they were making, this, that, and the third, they earned their positions, man. You know what I'm saying? And I give credit to Mos, to Yasin. He never went out there and said that he was this and that or whatever. He just out here living his life. He's like an Andre 3000 in that sense. Like whenever he shows up, he gives his best. He does his best. And however people want to take it, they want to take it. But I mean, we got to go with the catalog. We got to go with the we got to go with the catalog. If we go just straight off in a vacuum, yes, Mos Def. Yasin is one of the most talented MCs I've ever heard in a vacuum. He is right up there from a gifted standpoint with the Rakims, Nas's, whatever. But you don't have the material they have. You don't have the longevity they have. You don't have the level of growth that they have. So I can't put you in that conversation. And that's okay because people do what they want to out here. And that's what he wanted to do. He wasn't inspired to go out there and give us KD 1, 2, 3, Magic 1, 2, and 3. He did what he did, and that's fine. And you get placed properly. Ahmad with the super chat says new Pete Rock and Common song dropping at midnight. Let's go. Let's go. I'm excited about this. And we got some surprises coming too when it comes to that effort. But we'll talk about that later. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says this list don't deserve to be acknowledged by A2HH. I agree with that, but I want to have conversations with the people though. You know what I'm saying? If people want to talk about it, I want to acknowledge the fact of this is how people get down with these lists. And we need to take it as such whenever we see off-brand publications. And when I say off-brand, I mean publications that have nothing to do with this subject matter and with the spaces that we're in, handling lists that shouldn't be handled by them. Mad Max with the super chat says, as a talent, yes, most is like a BK Nas, only in talent. Right. Talent only gets you so far. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just got through talking about LeBron James. There's a lot of guys, I wouldn't say a lot of guys on LeBron James' level. I'm going to have to lower it down a little bit, but Tracy McGrady. I thought Tracy McGrady was one of the dopest basketball players of his time, and he was. But at the same time, got LeBron and JJ Redick out here. But at the time, but if we're looking at it from a longevity standpoint, there's so many people that we just couldn't put Tracy over just based on how their careers went in relation to his. But if you match Tracy McGrady up in his prime up against damn near anybody, he has a great chance. CJ Kidd, shout out to CJ Kidd in the building, man. Ain't seen you in a minute, sir. He says, if this is Forbes list, if this is the Forbes list, then it is confirmed to have been compiled by a young woman in her early 20s who was a writer for Fashionista and Forbes. Well, let's find whoever name that is, and I'm going to do that in a minute when we get on with the show. But I do understand that having MF Doom at 26 and having Juice WRLD at 27 kind of gives you a little bit of insight to the individual, I guess. And having Rakim at 21 kind of lets you know, yeah, it's a younger person. All right, Common's 20. Ghostface is 19. Snoop Dogg is 18. Tyler, the Creator, is 17. Yeah, this is a young person. And I'm not saying that to be, dismissive. I think that it's hard for somebody who's only seen a certain amount of hip hop to be able to give you a scope on the all-time list. And granted, we do it too. Look, I've seen a lot of hip hop. I grew up in hip hop in the 90s, so I understand I don't have the scope of the 80s like a lot of people who lived the 80s do. And look, I defer to them whenever I'm putting together these lists, just like I deferred to you guys on Monday when I was coming up with the feature list. So Tyler, the Creator, is 17. Lil Kim is 16. ASAP Rocky is 15. Whew. ASAP Rocky's high. Now, I said ASAP Rocky is the most underappreciated MC in his era, but if people think he's number 15, man, he's not. Yeah. I don't even see how you get to that number. Chuck D, 14. Missy Elliott, 13. I love Missy, man. But come on, man. Come on, man. Come the fuck on. Are we serious? All right. The Notorious B.I.G. at 12. All right. I laugh because I see the next person up. Andre 3000 at 11. I love you, Dre. I love the Dungeon Family. I just got finished singing the Dungeon Family's praises. And that's my face right now. How Dre's looking at Big Boy. Must I say this for the umpteenth time? Andre 3000, respectfully, is not qualified to be on any individual list. I said this at the barbershop last week. I'm going to say this again. I've been saying this on this show for years. It's not slander. It's just truth. Andre would probably say the same exact thing. He's a member of Outkast as an MC. As a solo artist, he is a funk, jazz, now flute player, which is awesome, which is fine. I sat down with Big Gip, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about the artistry and the growth of the Dungeon family and how they take things to places that they've never been before. And hip hop needs that. The culture needs that. But if you're talking about a rapper list, it is in poor taste and it's a bad example. Forget poor taste. It is a bad example for you to rank somebody all time who has no rap material of their own as an individual. And then on top of that, you don't even consider their partner who rhymed on all of these songs you're talking about in the 50, but you got Bad Bunny on here, right? Big Boy's not on this top 50 list at all. If you're going to, I would respect more if somebody would just say Outkast at 11. I don't agree with that because, again, it's a group now, you know what I mean? But I would respect that more than somebody just pulling out Andre 3000 and throwing him at number 11 in the mix with all of these people who have solo works. And you know what? For the people who don't feel like solo works are important, I want you to go out there and write 10 verses and then go out there and write 30 verses. And you tell me that it was easier for you to write the 10. It's a lot easier for you to catch a vibe on the features and things like that, and somebody already giving you a theme of how a song's going. And we also don't know when it comes to these Outkast records how much input Dre really had. Big Boy, when we look at the hooks and we look at the concepts a lot of the times, a lot of the things that we really love about these Outkast songs have Big Boy's name written all over them. Aha, hush that fuzz. Everybody move to the back of the bus. Who you think that is? Me and you, yo mama and your cousin too. Now, Dre's great, but he just went in there on a lot of those records that are extremely notable from Cass and just went in there and did his thing. Whereas Big Boy kind of framed the whole record and did his thing. And for the people who weren't there, man, we were here in Atlanta, Georgia, when Outkast was in their prime. Outkast was coming out with all of their classic albums. Nobody, and I mean nobody, was out here talking about, man, Drake killing Big Boy. No, people had their favorites. Some people like Big Boy. Some people like Dre. I was more leaning on the Dre end because I related to Dre a little bit more. But I also love Big Boy as well. There was never this level of separation. Like they treat Big Boy like he's Vinny in this. And I'm not even trying to, denigrate Vinny. Vinny's a dope dude. But we knew Vinny's place in Naughty by Nature. Tretch was the guy. Tretch was the guy that was leading the rhymes and things like that. Now, if you want to do that with the Tretch and Vinny comparison, I understand that. Because you know what? Tretch actually has OPP, which is a record by himself. Andre 3000 in 30 years of his music career does not have one single song where it's 3 verses and a hook from him. I don't care what people think he can do, what people want to fantasize that he can do, but the reality of the situation is he doesn't have any songs where there's 3 verses and a hook from just him. So we don't know if Miss Jackson came out and it was 3 Dre verses, if it would feel the same. We don't know if Elevators was 3 Andre verses and a hook from Andre, if it will be the same song. We don't know. So we can't sit here and imagine that and then put this up against people who have done this. He's disqualified from a top 50 list. It just is what it is. I don't even say top 50 list. Any individual rap list, because as a rapper, he doesn't have any individual material. I don't know why people can't get that through their heads, and I wish people could actually go out there and give me some evidence of any other rapper out here who doesn't have 3 verses and a hook in their whole career. Damn near every rapper, period, has shown us that they can make a solo record except for Andre. And that's fine. That was his choice. But we're not going to sit here and rank your top 10 for it. It's insane. CJ Kid with the Super Chat says, I feel like everyone isn't being judged by the same metrics, honestly. Of course they're not. And again, man, Dre's a superstar. Now, that I'll give Dre. The fact that Dre can pull up with his own, Dre has a presence. Now, that's what I will say, man. And Big Boy does too. But Dre is a superstar. And he has a presence that I think overtakes the actual material sometimes. You know, I think when he pulls up, and even when he's out here taking pictures with people, and he's done a great job of keeping this aura and allure about himself. Man, I remember when I was about to interview Big Gip, man, and when he pulled up, dapped me out, man. I'm like, man, you could tell like this guy is star power. You know what I'm saying? And Dre has those things too. Big Boy has star power too. Big Boy is down to earth, and Big Boy is cool, and he's very accessible. And unfortunately, people have used that against him. But that accessibility that Big Boy has is what's kept the Outkast legacy alive. Because if both of them acted the same way, I think a lot of people would have forgotten about the Outkast brand to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying? And I love Big Boy is necessary. The way that he carries himself keeps that legacy alive. And Outkast's legacy is the most important thing that I think this city musically has birthed. And I appreciate Big Boy to no ends for sacrificing his own individual legacy to keep that Outkast legacy alive. So that's my little soapbox on that. But let me get back to this list. Sorry, it had to be said, and I wanted to be very clear. I love Dre. I love Dre, man. He's probably the most influential MC in my youth, man. Like he taught me to dare to be different, and you could still be cool by being different. So you know, it is what it is. Notorious B.I.G. being number. Okay, Biggie is 12. I'm sorry. Dre is 11. Eminem's 10. You know what? That's actually good for this list. Eminem being 10 is actually good for this list. And I want to shout out to you guys because I think with a lot of the uproar that's come about when it comes to Eminem's legacy and how it has been overstated over the years, and us actually breaking down his material and breaking down his albums, his songs, and how none of his songs really get spins in the hip hop environments, whether that be clubs, barbecues, whether that be barbershops, whatever. That's you guys that did that. You know what I'm saying? The streets of hip hop, the grassroots of hip hop started that conversation and furthered that conversation so the young people actually see what it is. Because before, when people would say that he was the GOAT, he was top 5, this and that, people would just run with it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that even a bogus ass list like this knows that they can't put Eminem at the top of their list or it would discredit the whole list. And to see him at number 10 on a bogus Forbes list, it's like, wow, the word's even out to the people who are writing bogus lists. So CJ Kidd with the super chat says, so basically they treat Big Boy like they do Havoc. Yes, but yes and no, because at least Havoc, we know he made the beats. And I think the way they treat Havoc is they treat him like he's the producer. They treat Havoc like he's Prodigy's producer, right? And Havoc's verses are dope. Big Boy's the MC too. And Dre will sit there and tell you, like, yo, if you want to freestyle, you got to go to him. You know what I mean? And Big Boy is coming up with these concepts, rhyming his ass off, killing it with the features, too. Havoc doesn't have the features like Big Boy. Big Boy and Dre are so different, but they're so much closer than people make it seem. And honestly, when you factor in the fact that Big Boy can actually make solo rap material, one could argue that Big Boy definitely needs to be put over Dre. I mean, but I can get on that in a minute. But yeah, Eminem's at 10. Nas is at 9. Nicki Minaj is at 8. Nicki's accomplished a lot. But in what world does anybody put Nicki Minaj over Nas? I would love for somebody to actually justify that. Would you say lyrically? Would you say, songs? Would you say albums? Would you say skills? Would you say longevity? I would like to see anybody, give a criteria for how they put that together. Kanye West at 7, Drake at 6, Tupac at 5, J. Cole at 4, Wayne at 3, Kendrick Lamar at 2, and Jay-Z at 1. Just looking at this list, you could tell that the person who put this together or persons, this is somebody that's probably in their mid to late 20s. This is the issue I would have, right? Just to be perfectly honest. When somebody says that they're top 5 or top 6, well, let's just go to 7. No, I'll go to 8. Let me rewind again. You got Nicki, Kanye, Drake, Tupac. Tupac's legacy has lasted over generations, so I get that. J. Cole, Wayne, and Kendrick. Okay, you could tell that this person is probably grew up in the Wayne, Kendrick era. This is probably somebody who came up in a time where Wayne was running shit, and that was probably their formative years in hip hop. But what's blaring is you got all those things there, and how would somebody of that era think that Jay-Z's number one? Now, somebody like myself, who was around for Jay-Z's prime and saw all of those things and saw everything that Jay did, and we're going to talk about Reasonable Doubt in a minute, I could see that, Leroy Green's in that demographic too, and you know how Leroy Green feels about Jay. Can't wait to talk to him about Jay today. But somebody in this age bracket that would put together a list like this, I don't see how they would have Jay at number one. So I don't know. Maybe it sounds like the people at Forbes made sure that their young writer, their young editorial contributor had to put Jay-Z at number one. But yeah, it's a very bogus list, man. I'm not mad at them having Chief Keef at top 50 because, again, this is a person's age. I think what people need to do, though, just to add some level of, I don't want to say credibility, but maybe some level of understanding to their list, people need to state how old they are or what era of hip hop they came up in when they put their list together. I mean, because I can see, what era this person came up in. Childish Gambino's over LL Cool J. Yeah, you know how old this person probably is. This person's probably late 20s, mid 20s, or whatever. But I think to save everyone's credibility and just to show that you're not trolling, if you're trolling and you deserve everything that you get. But if these lists are honest from these people's perspectives and it's a personal list and this and that, then I think state the era that you come up in. And I think that an editorial that kind of prefaces that is necessary, because there's no other way to justify it. There's no other way to justify it. Scarface isn't on the list at all. But again, I think that's somebody who comes up in a certain era. Scarface is one of our greats that I don't know if his music, I don't want to say has translated because I don't think they've had the opportunity to translate. I think that his Scarface's music should resonate with this era. I mean, when we talk about all the mental health that's going on now and the mental health conversations that are happening now, you would think that Scarface's material will be the Bible for that. But I think that because it came out on Rap a Lot, because it's from the South and it doesn't get a lot of pub, I think that his reach to some degree has been suppressed. And we got to change that because his NPR Tiny Desk concert was remarkable. It's something that we should still be talking about. It's actually one of the best Tiny Desk concerts that I've ever seen. And I think that Scarface's material would definitely translate over to this new generation or this current generation. But I think they haven't had the opportunity to get into his music because he doesn't have the song or the hit single that the mainstream will go out there and plug that will pull them into his catalog. So if you're a young person out there who hasn't really gotten into Scarface like that, you just hear us talk about him, go out there and check out The Diary, man. Like, you got to get into Scarface's material. He's a special MC that did and does some things that not many people can do. I don't think there's anybody who could make I Seen a Man Die. I don't think there's anybody in hip hop who can do that. CJ Kid with the super chat, $20 super chat. Put some respect on your name, sir. Out here showing love. Says Jay is petty. Probably called him and told them out him at number one. I guess he mean put him at number one. Remember, Jay personally called T.I. to ask him if he really thought Pac was better than him. T.I. had Pac at number one, Jay at number two, and Jay took that personal. I remember T.I. telling that story. This is how I feel about it. I think that Jay-Z, from a rhyming standpoint, and again, Reasonable Doubt keeps coming up. It's a reoccurring theme on this show today, I guess for a reason. On 22 twos, where he said too much West Coast dick looking and too many niggas on their mission doing their best Jay-Z rendition. I always thought the 22 twos was a shot at Tupac anyway. I thought the concept came from the name Tupac from Jump because of the way he started it. And not to mention what they said on Brooklyn's Finest. You know, if Faith had twins, she probably have two Pacs, right? Once again, we're going with the numerology. We're going with the two thing. And so Jay has always kind of been chasing Pac in that way. But if we're being perfectly honest, in 1996, it was no conversation who was better. It was Tupac. He was the guy. He was the mark. You know what I'm saying? And Jay's debut album came out months before Tupac met his demise and was no longer able to live on. So Tupac's catalog was already solidified. And if a person like T.I., who was of age, who saw all of that, and then saw Jay's run after that, the question now becomes, did you ever catch Tupac? Because when you both were actually making material, when you started your material and he was at his final material, it wasn't even close. So now you have to ask the question, do you think I caught Tupac? And if somebody doesn't feel like you did, I don't think they're wrong for that. I mean, I think Jay might be more lyrically skilled than Tupac, and I think that's even a conversation that someone could debate. But other than that, as a performer, as a rap voice, as a storyteller, as a songwriter, as a poet, even, all those go to Pac, man. All eyes on me, man. Like, the question now becomes, is Tupac's best album better than Jay-Z's best album? Now, I think that's a debatable conversation. Do you want to put All Eyes on Me up against Reasonable Doubt, or Me Against the World up against Reasonable Doubt? I think that's an interesting conversation to have. We can talk about that when we get some more people in the room, too. Mal 7 with the Super Chat says, what up, Mike? I think Scarface gets disrespected the most on this list. He's top 5 ever and number 1 from the South. Nas getting slighted, too. Well, how do I say this? Because I want to be respectful. Scarface gets disrespected every time people put Andre 3000 in a top 5 or top 10 situation. Like, come on, man. Face has done this by himself and in a group for over 30 years. And how do you overlook his skill set for someone who just gives you spot verses here and there, and for somebody who gives you one verse per song? Like, how do you overlook that? How do you overlook somebody who can make Now I Feel You and give you a story from beginning to end? Somebody who can make A Minute to Pray, A Second to Die. Somebody who can make I Seen a Man Die by himself. Somebody who can make My Block. How do you overlook that for somebody giving you spot verses here and there? Like, it becomes disrespectful. Yes, he is the best rapper that the South has ever seen. And I said this the other day, and people thought I was trolling people that I was with because they know how much I love Outkast. And the crown belongs to Outkast. I always felt like that. I always will feel like that. But if we talk about an individual MC, T.I.'s the best that we've ever had from the city. It is what it is. He has the catalog for it. He has the run for it. He has the lyrical talent for it. He has the range for it. He has the feature game for it. He's done all of the things. And I can't sit here and act like he didn't. And I might prefer Andre bar for bar. I might prefer Big Boy or CeeLo bar for bar. But being unbiased, I got to say it's T.I. It is what it is. He wanted it. He wanted the crown from the jump. And not only did he want it, he worked for it. And he went out there and got it. And he took it. And so I got to give credit where credit's due. But saying all that to say, Scarface is the best rapper that ever came out of the South. It is what it is. And he should be treated as such. If the South is so important, which we are, and if the South added so much to hip hop, which we had, Scarface needs to be treated accordingly. And, a list having Young Thug on it, Future on it, even Childish Gambino on it, you got to respect the king of the South, who is Scarface. And I know Scarface said he never wanted to be the king of the South like that. And T.I. took that title and, ran with that title. And to me, in many respects, earned that title. Whether Scarface wants that title or not, like Lil Flip said, man, you're king of the South to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might not make the music for those titles, but he did the work. And he set the groundwork. And not only is he a pioneer, but just from a skill set standpoint, like I said, nobody can make the songs that Scarface made. CJ Kid with the super chat says top 10 MCs from the South real quick. Okay. Y'all got me on the spot. We doing lists. I think I might need to do another list. Is my other list that I put out there obsolete now? The one where I had Pastor Troy there and I scratched him out and put Jeezy on it and Shade Room got it and it went viral. let me just go off the cuff on a new list. So Scarface number 1. Wayne's number 2. I'm just being objective here. It's not my personal opinion or whatever. This is just, all things considered. People say T.I. ain't got no bangers. What? You don't know he's not a banger? What you know is not a banger? Come on, man. What I gotta know, where does this disdain for T.I. come from? Does it come from the allegations, if you will? Because we gotta give credit where credit's due, man. This man is. Well, I guess we gotta call a spade a spade. J. Cole counts as a down south MC. Let me do this. Scarface 1, Wayne 2. I'm gonna go T.I. 3. I'm gonna go J. Cole 4. Ludacris is not better than T.I. And we can go on that. We can go on that soapbox as well. And I will tell you why Ludacris is not better than T.I. Ludacris doesn't have the versatility when it comes to subject matter. He doesn't have those expanded experiences that you look for in a lyricist. He's not the storyteller that T.I. is. T.I. has shown that he can do everything on every facet. He can tell stories. He can, master the feature game. He can go out there and make a song like Praying for Help. He can go out there and make a song like, even if you like Pussy Pumpin' number 1, or if you want to go top back, you want to go front back, he can make the song Live Your Life with Rihanna and the song Live Your Life with Daz or My Life. Like, he just has too much versatility. Oh, Project Pat. See, now I'm going to get biased, man. We start mentioning Pat and Pimp C. I think it's going to be easier for me to give my list, I guess, other than an objective list, because this is very difficult. Pat's top 10. Yeah, T.I.'s got range and versatility. Pat's top 10. Do you guys think I got to be real, man. All right, so after J. Cole, I'm probably going to go Big Boy. Let me do this. I am doing this list live, guys. This is crazy. Scarface, Wayne 2. Scarface 1, Wayne 2, T.I. 3, J. Cole 4, Big Boy 5. My next spot's either going to be Project Pat and Pimp C. I had a conversation in the barbershop last week. It's crazy. We were talking about 8 Ball, MJG, and UGK. My barber said he liked Pimp C over Bun B, which I agree with, even though Bun B's probably technically the better rapper, and he should be on this list too. But when they said they like 8 Ball over MJG, I love 8 Ball, but I've always liked MJG more. I always thought that 8 Ball is more of a star. 8 Ball got the swag. 8 Ball got the he has the aura. Shit, 8 Ball came out the gate and made Mr. Big by himself, showed the storytelling skill, all of that. But to me, the flow and just the rapid lyricism, give me MJG, man. So if I had to actually rank those guys just based on those two groups, they might end up on this list too. I got to give Luda a spot too, because that just ain't fair. Juvenile too. Yeah, Juvenile's on here too. All right. So I'm gonna go as far as my personal favorites. I got Pimp C, MJG, 8 Ball, and then Bun B. That's how I got it. Let me say that again. Pimp C is my favorite out of the 4 MCs in those 2 groups. Then I got MJG. That's how much I like MJG. Then I got 8 Ball, and then I got Bun B. Love all 3. I mean, love all 4. Excuse me. Love all 4. But yeah, that's how I got it ranked. So okay, do you guys think I should put Ludacris over Big Boy? Because it just don't feel right to do that. But if I'm being objective and you look at what Luda's done as a solo artist, I don't know, man. I think that even if I'm counting Big Boy's solo work in conjunction with the Outkast work, that's hard to do. It really is. I want to put that one in the chat. Who's the better MC, Big Boy or Ludacris? Because I'll go with whatever y'all say. Let's see. Who's the better MC? Ludacris, Big Boy. Just having a conversation with y'all today, man. I love it, man. This is great. So yes, we got Ludacris, Big Boy. Her niggas got Big Boy off top. Big Boy got the first vote. All right, we had 8 votes in. It looks. And then it makes me think, where do people like Gucci Mane come in at, right? Where does somebody like Currency come in at? Where does somebody like looks like big oh no, Luda's coming back. I'm gonna get it to 50 votes and then I'm gonna call it. And then we're just gonna go from there. I want to say this: Andre, CeeLo, and Lord Infamous suffer from similar things. They don't really have the solo catalog like that for me to be able to put them on a list. And I will give Bun B that over the other guys that I mentioned, who I personally like more. But I think Bun B has that solo catalog. He got that feature run, and Bun B should be considered over Pimp C, over MJG, and even 8 Ball. If I'm being objective here, I might flip the list where it's like, personally, I like Pimp C, MJG, 8 Ball, and Bun B. But if we're talking about being objective, you look at the catalog, look at all the work that somebody's put in, Bun B deserves to be number 1 there. Then it would be 8 Ball, then it would be Pimp C, and then it would be MJG, to be perfectly honest. Mall7 with the super chat says, Big Boy washes Luda. He's got way more impact too. Well, can't argue that. Well, Big Boy's 5. Big Boy's 5. Then I'm going to go Luda. Then I'm going to go Bun. Then I'm going to go Juvenile. Then I'm going to go, where am I going to go next? All right, this is what the list looks like right now. I like the Big Crit choice. I think Big Crit does need some sort of recognition here. I got Scarface 1, Wayne 2, T.I. 3, J. Cole 4, Big Boy 5, Ludacris 6, Bun B 7. I'm going to flip that, guys. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go Juvenile 7, Bun B 8. And I'm going to go Big Crit 9. And I'm going to go Project Pat 10. So for the people who didn't hear it, people in the back, thanks. Somebody mentioned that. Virginia's technically the South. We got Pusha T in the building. Well, Pusha T's in here. Things change a little bit. Damn. Okay. Pusha T's in here. Things change a little bit. Let's see. Do you guys got I know y'all do. Y'all got J. Cole over Pusha T. Pusha T or Ludacris? That's where I'm thinking that Pusha T is going to be. Let me do a poll on that. Who's the better MC, Pusha T or Ludacris? Oh my goodness, this is going to get interesting right here. And see, this is why I like talking to you guys. This is how you put together a legitimate list. Who's better MC? Let's see. This is how you put together a legitimate list. This is how and why, according to hip hop, was even started in the first place. This is hip hop according to the people. We can actually get some checks and balances here. We can talk to the people as opposed to, these writers sitting there in their individual rooms and closets coming up with narratives, hoping that people, eat the cake, if you will. Mal 7 with the super chat says, Pusha is better than Luda too. LP with the super chat says Fontaine got classic group albums, mixtapes, solo, great solo albums, great verses throughout. Pen to pad, there aren't 10 better in the South. Crit also deserves a slot. Classic albums, self-produced. I definitely got, Crit a spot. He's top 10. And you know how I feel about Project Pat. Project Pat's my guy, one of my personal favorite rappers, but I wouldn't put Pat. I don't think it's fair to put Pat over Crit. Crit's put in a lot of work and done a lot for his era. And for many people, is one of the best, if not the most underrated of his era. So Crit's very skilled. He's amazing. Let me see. People got Pusha T over Luda. So maybe I got Luda too high. Do y'all got Bun B and Juvenile over Luda too? Oh, Rick Ross. Shit. Let's see, now things got to change again. All right, let me do this over. Scarface, Wayne. Where does Ross fit in this mix, guys? Y'all got Ludacris over Ross too? I mean, y'all got Ross over Ludacris too? Let's see. Okay, who's better MC? Ludacris, Ricky, Rose, Dizzy. All right, let's see. Let's see what happens. Y'all ain't got Ross nowhere. See, Ross is another one of these guys that people don't like that. Mal 7 with the super chat says Rick Ross is top 5 for the South 100. Okay, y'all got Ludacris over Rick Ross. Looks like okay. Well, nope. It's getting close. Rick Ross just took the lead. 19 votes, 20 votes. 55% Rick Ross. Okay. This one's going to go to the wire, looks like. So I'm just going to let this one flow. So maybe I got T.I. ranked too high. Maybe y'all want to push T.I. behind J. Cole, even though I don't feel like he's behind J. Cole. But hey, this ain't totally about me. J. Cole, boom, Big Boy. Okay, Ross is winning over Ludacris right now. Let's just say Pusha T for argument's sake is behind Big Boy. Looks like Ludacris is kind of standing firm ahead of Rick Ross right now. Let's just say Luda has that spot. And then let's just say it's Ross after that. Because I think I would objectively put Ross over Bun. And then I could really go Crit, Juvenile. But see, I think that puts Bun out of the top 10. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oof. All right, well, what the 10 looks like right now, with Virginia included in the South, which technically it is. I got Scarface at 1, Wayne at 2, T.I. at 3, J. Cole at 4, Big Boy at 5, Pusha T at 6, Ludacris at 7, Rick Ross at 8, Big Crit at 9, and Juvenile at 10. I don't know how I feel about that. Might have to flip that Juvie and Bun B. I'm going to have to put that one in the poll, guys. Oh, no. Rick Ross just beat Luda. Let's flip those. I got to be fair. He beat him 51% to 49. Mad Max in the super chat says T.I. over Cole. Facts. Luda over Ross. Facts. Okay. I don't know. All right, we're gonna do one more. We're gonna do one more. Mad Max says Ross is not even mystical like that for real, or Project Pat. Ross got the catalog, man. I mean, I personally would listen to Pat over Ross, but he got the catalog. Mad Max says I'm not taking Ross over Future. See, Future makes a whole. See, when you bring Future in the mix, man, it's a whole different conversation because it's like Future and Thug are creators. I think there's a whole different lane for guys like them where it's like they're not even MCing anymore. They're just creators on the mic. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, where do Pitbull and Flow Rider belong on these lists? Should we just group them in sorts of their own subgenre? I think, and I've never been the person to go out there and call somebody pop because I think pop is a way of disregarding somebody's musical integrity. But I don't think those guys were concerned with making rap music per se. I think they were more concerned with making hit records and records for pop radio or popular records. And so if we don't include them in these, I don't think that it is disrespectful in any way because I don't think that's what they made their music for. Luda ended up beating Ross. We'll keep Luda ahead of Ross, but there's one more I want to do to round out the 10. I want y'all to tell me who deserves that 10 spot, Bun B or Juvenile, and then we can wrap the 10 up. Who deserves the number 10 spot most? Let's do it like that. Bun B, Juvie, Juvenile Nino. Jeezy could be in the conversation too. Look, I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm gonna lean more towards Juvenile because Juvenile made high, man. I'm not dismissing Fonte. You know me, LP. I love it, man. I love Fonte. I love his approach. And, you know, if you've heard any of the music that I've made, it's in line with the lane that J. Cole and Fonte made music in. I think that Fonte is clearly one of J. Cole's big influences. Like J. Cole's influenced by Fonte. It is what it is. But it's hard to gauge his impact above these guys. Now, I think Crit had an impact for his era. And I don't want to disregard the impact that Crit has had on his era and to the people who bought into, you know, his buzz and everything that he was doing from a mixtape level and even on an album level and even still doing right now. So Crit has some longevity here. Fonte does too. But I think that Southern hip hop has a tone to it that maybe J. Cole and Pusha don't really tap into as much as some of these other guys aesthetically, but they still have that impact, right? It's hard to gauge Fonte's impact and in relation to these guys. That's not saying that he's not as dope as these guys, but when you look at Juvenile, man, he made 400 Degrees, man. That's a game changer. He made High. Back that ass up. These are top 50 hip hop songs of all time, in my opinion. Yeah, Juvenile's blowing Bun B out. All right, so Juvenile gets that number 10 spot. Y'all think Juvenile should get a spot over Crit? Chris started with the super chat says, Mike, just put Ross catalog up. I'm sorry, and C, promise you, they are not winning more to music than just lyric. I'm sorry. What is it? Mike, just put Ross's catalog up and see. Promise you, they're not winning. More to music than just lyrics. I missed the commas in there, Chris. Sorry. I gotta imagine the commas. But you're right. Rick Ross has a lot of music. And somebody like Ross, it's not really about the bars per se. It's about the music and the musical experience that he comes with. And also, even when Ross is featured on his stuff, we saw this on Busta Rhymes ELE too, on the Muhammad record. I mean, he brings the beats with him. Like he's probably, and I've said this before, the best beat picker in hip hop history. And that's going to take you a long way when it comes to being on these lists. Mad Max to the super chat says Fonte is just boring. Others did his style better. Speaking of which, others doing his style better. And I want to ask LP this. You don't have to, you can answer whatever, but I'm just putting this out there. When do you guys feel like Fonte got on a record and just was blowing out top-notch MCs where it's like, oh yeah, he's the guy? Because to me, rapper Big Pooh, and this is just Michael's opinion, it's just Mike D's opinion. These opinions don't reflect the thoughts and the opinions of According to Hip Hop, but I don't think rapper Big Pooh is that dope of an MC. And so when you're rapping with somebody who is not that dope and you're a dope MC like that, you are going to shine through. When has Fonte got on records with some of the dopest and really shine through like that? Because on Hiding Place, Elzai ate his lunch, and Elzai is crazy with it, though. But see, Elzai is crazy. So I'm not expecting somebody to sit up there and stand with Elzai, but when I see Fonte rhyming with Elzai, and Elzai is like, ball as long as LeBron's bronze sneakers, I'm like, he's the guy. So just give me an example. When Fonte went out there, it was killing it with some of the best MCs that were, of that day. That says Drake, Cole, Wale, etc. They all did Fonte better.
Stop. We gotta stop.
What's going on, Leroy? What we gotta stop doing?
It's fine. I had the notes. I'm gonna save them for Saturday. Saturday, I'm going to cook. But your take on the Forbes list just threw my whole mind off. It's all good though. But Fonte, you weren't wrong on the Forbes list though. Fonte, yeah, you weren't wrong. Little Brother's just about good music. Now everybody claims good music. We want to hear good music, good music, good music. I'm talking about like literally the notes, the aesthetics, the instrumentations, the refrains, the singing hooks. I'm talking literally the music. Fonte and Little Brother were great at just making great music, and that is underappreciated. So that's all. You know what I mean?
I mean, to me, and I've said this before, not disrespectful, I'm just being objective. I think sometimes when you make hip hop of a certain ilk, people don't critique it in the ways that they critique the gangster rap and shit like that. Yeah, I'm gonna critique the conscious or whatever in the same way that I do the chronic. Right. I think the star Little Brother, I've always thought this, is Ninth Wonder. He's the star of the group to me.
For sure.
He's the sound. Because in that Little Brother album that dropped, that just like Dilla is the star of Slum Village. It's no disrespect. You got Dilla in your group. You know what I mean? And just like that album that Little Brother made without Ninth Wonder, nobody listen to that like that.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna give and I'm gonna make it quick because I gotta go. Crooked Eye is teaching a class, which I gotta be a part of. So
of course.
Y'all want me to ask Crooked Eye any questions? Put them in the chat, and I'll try to remember to ask them, and I'll tell you the answer Saturday.
I got a question I want you to ask him, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him about style, but I'll ask the question for you for sure. Fonte, like Jay, right? They're two totally different styles, but Fonte comes off as like real, like he's not like when you rap, you put on your rapper character, right? Fonte is rapping like, no, this is like really who I am, like, you know what I mean? Like, and that rings true in the music, and it's kind of like Reasonable Doubt. It rings true, like Jay's like, no, I'm really who I say I really am, and that just rings different,
Fonte raps like the everyday man, right? And and I think that some of the reasons why I'm not as entertained by 444 is probably some of the reasons why I'm not really entertained by Fonte's everyday man approach.
I got it.
Some people are able to pull that off in a way where, well, I don't know who is able to really pull that off, because it's tough, because rap is it's entertainment, right? And so you have to make it entertaining. Like Jay-Z's best material, and let's talk about Reasonable Doubt because I know you don't have a lot of time. Jay-Z's best material, he gave you his life on Reasonable Doubt, but he did it in an entertaining fashion. Cashmere Thoughts is entertaining. Politics as Usual is entertaining. The Evils is entertaining. It sounds like a fucking movie. It does.
No doubt. Real point, while people are talking about the Clash, you know, one of my dreams is this audience, because I've seen a small group turn into a phenomenal movement. This group here of us, people in the chat, I would love if we all met up somewhere at a mansion somewhere, had a great weekend, had performances, had music, had food, had
a brunch.
Yeah, and we just really had a good time for a whole. Like, that's my dream. Instead of all this hating, you know, people that want to pull up and fight me, that's okay. We can go in the backyard, no problem. I'm not turning down fades, but I wish we could just meet up and have a really good time for a weekend or so, just once a year, you know. But that's my dream. But anyway, So yeah, but I think that it has to be entertaining. But the rappers that like are comfortable saying, you know what, sometimes I lose. Like sometimes in life I take a L. I think that just rings off different, and I don't really hear that. And that to me made Reasonable Doubt really special. And like Fonte, it makes them special because sometimes in their music they take a L. You know what I mean? Like,
where do you have Reasonable Doubt in Jay-Z's catalog? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
It's got to be high, man. I mean, I probably got it in the top 3. I mean, we're going like 1 or 2, or you know, it's high, man. And that's just because, like, you know, Reasonable Doubt. It was like, first of all, people say it didn't blow up in '96. Well, in '96, Jay had a distribution deal. Distribution deal means they make the CDs for you and you pay for them. So it's not like a record company putting out your CD. They tell you the price of how many CDs, and then you pay, and then your album is distributed. That's the deal he had. So like some stores you could find Reasonable Doubt in, some stores you couldn't really find them. And then if you went to a store and you didn't buy it at that particular time because you didn't know who Jay was, after you found out or saw a video and you went back to buy it, it may not be there. So that was the difference with that. But
yeah, it didn't have the reach that, you know, and All Eyes on Me, and you know, even it was written like, I do think that it was you know, because I think Future was in a barbershop or whatever, and he was talking about, I guess, Tupac, Jay-Z, and they were saying that, you know, in '96, you know, Tupac was selling this and Reasonable Doubt did this, and I think that's a little unfair because, you know, an independent release, and not to say that Priority is independent, but there was a middle ground, right? Priority of the 90s, for the people who grew up in the 2000s, Priority was like Koch of the 90s, right? Or Koch was like Priority of the 2000s. And so you're not going to have the reach of somebody that's on a major label, and your marketing is going to be different. But I'm not going to give too many passes because, again, I don't think he had the hit records on here other than Ain't No Nigga Like That. So I don't think the approach was even to make a big selling album. I think he really wanted to state his claim as an MC on here and his approach and who he was. It was a ground laying moment. And he laid that foundation incredibly well on here. What are some of your favorite songs on Reasonable Doubt?
I mean, the first song, Can't Knock the Hustle, as like, when I remember when I first heard that song in life, and just the smoothness of it, and Mary's hook, and Jay's just utter confidence and flow. I was just like, I knew this guy was going to be something special. Now, Jay was only going to make one album. That's why in my mind it's an art piece, because Reasonable Doubt was supposed to be one album, then Jay was leaving the game. So that he was still a hustler, literally. He wasn't like, I'm saying I'm a hustler. He's literally a hustler. You know what I mean? So, but Can I Live? You know, Can I Live might be my favorite Jay song, you know? Yeah. Then you got The Evils, you know, the usual suspects. You got 22 twos. When I heard 22 twos, even though it's, you know, it's simple, 22 twos, right? Still though, in the second verse on that, when look in his casket, look at him, he's still sleeping. You know what I mean? Like, It's like, come on, man. Y'all know the Jehovah Witness bar. You know certain bars from that. And we used to fight for building blocks. Now we fight for blocks with buildings. Just how he's putting it together.
It's his best MC performance on an album from end to end, in my opinion. That's why it's his best album to me. Yeah, that MC work when he's like on 22 twos and he's like, got to reach my quota. It's like, oh, okay, here he comes. Right. Yeah. Right. But I think his best verse and one of my personal favorites, and I think my favorite Jay-Z song, it shuffles between You Don't Know and Dead Presidents too. But I think his best verse, and I've heard Biggs say this, and I may agree with this, his best verse on the album might be Bring It On.
Oh, that was fire.
Man, that his verse on there, bro. I love when him and Sauce Money got together back then, man. Can I get to these super chats real quick and we can talk about the KRS thing since I know you got to go? Yeah. Mad Max with the super chat says Ross makes 3 mic music. Oh, man. The Raw say. Stephon Young with the super chat says, what up, Leroy?
What's up? What's up?
What up? Mad Max with the super chat says, LOL, they have no personality. Hip hop is about aura. It's true. He's talking about Fonte, I think. And Stephon Young with the super chat says, what's better, 444 or Mr. Morale? Mad Max with the super chat says, Mr. Can't be average Joe in hip hop. This is fly persona genre. Huh.
I disagree with that. You know, I mean, 98% of it is like being the fly person, the most popular person. But I do think it's room to be like, I'm a working class person. I'm not like the most popular person in the mainstream. I think there's room for that, you know, and I think there's MCs that could pull that off well. You mentioned Elzai, you know what I mean? But just his hard work, you know.
Kendra with the super chat says, Mike, do you think any of these would be on your list? Guru, J. Rue the Damager, Denzel Curry, Jadakiss, Paul Wall, Big Sean, Benny the Butcher, T Grizzly, Black Thought, Fabulous. I would have Guru from the people you mentioned, Guru, Jadakiss, and Black Thought for sure. I think Fabulous has done the work, and
he's up.
Yeah, I think Fab. There's an argument for Fab. I think that Big Sean, he's doing his thing. I think there's more work to do. I think with Benny, there's more work to do. I would like to see Denzel Curry develop a little bit more as well, but I think that he has the right idea about things. It just seems like something missing with Denzel Curry, but I love his approach. Mad Max with the super chat says Reasonable Doubt is Hove's most creative album, which is crazy.
I don't know about that. I give it its props for the live instrumentation sounding music. Right? It sounds like a band should be playing those beats. And
I think Reasonable Doubt sonically sounds like 1995. And that's one of those things where you could tell he took his time to make this, and it took him a while to make it because they were independent in a sense. So sonically, it sounds more along the lines of, Big L's Life for the Poor, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous.
It's some good instrumentation on Reason.
It is.
If a band could play that music for me, I would definitely pay to just hear the music because I think it's that good. But just 2 quick points, and then I'm done with it. There's mafioso rap in the mid 90s, right? So that energy is in the air. So everyone's like mafioso rap. We're also watching mafioso movies. So both of those things are happening. And then also though, there's kind of like a bad taste in people's mouth, or should I say, because they're hearing certain gangsta albums and they're like, that's not real. Like people are having this thought in their mind, like, and the music sounds like it's not real. Like, because when you're hearing the songs in the mid 90s, they're exaggerating the points in the music so far that to where people be like, this person really can't be like that, you know? So when Reasonable Doubt comes out, it's like really one of the first times that they're hearing the music and they're like, hold on, is this person being serious? Like it sounds like Jay is really serious, you know, like he's not saying it just, you know, to shock you. Like, you know what I mean? So that
does sound really real. And I think that his conversational flow, and I was reading the Source Magazine's editorial when they gave it 4 mics.
Right.
Because one of the things that they highlighted was how conversational he was, you know what I mean? And is on that album. And I think that's the part that makes it so real. You know, and again, I've been very vocal about the fact that Conversational Jay is the best. And that's him at his best. Even though Imaginary Play is not on that album, he is talking to you on that album in the way that he did on Imaginary Player, the whole album for the most part. I mean, like you said, when you mentioned Can't Knock the Hustle, nigga comes in, it's like, how did he come in? That shit is like, I'm making short-term goals, winner foes. Just put away the levers and put ice on the goal. Chilly with enough bail money to free a big Willie. High stakes, I got more stake than Philly. Shopping sprees, copping threes, deuce fever. Yes, it's fully loaded. Yeah, bouncing in the Lex Luger. Tight smoke like Buddha. 50 G's to the crap shooter. Like, he's rapping like that the whole album. And for that alone, that makes it my #1 Jay-Z album.
Right. And if you think of a character like the Godfather character, right? He's a smooth guy. He's kind of quiet. He's a little funny, but there's a paranoia in his words. Like he feels like something could be wrong. Now, if you listen to Reasonable Doubt, you hear a paranoia. And Jay is great at describing the paranormal of a hustler, because you're thinking, oh shit, I'm gonna get arrested today, or I'm gonna get killed, or so. When he raps, even though he's having a good time, you know, in the bars he's saying this could be it. You know what I mean? He said,
that's nightmares, Mom. Yeah.
This could be it. That's why he's putting everything on the line. Like, the context of his bars is, I'm putting everything on the line because this could be it. You know, I don't know, you know.
So, Matt Max in the super chat says, nah, Mike, Reasonable Doubt sounds like 70s music. Yeah. A lot of the 95 sounds like 70s too. Man Max in the super chat says like 70s casino music, dice game music, different. You want to talk about this KRS and Lord Jamar thing? You kind of brought it to the attention in the chat that we have.
Yeah.
Go ahead and lay it out there.
Today, people want to downplay the Latino role in hip hop. Yep. They are so stupid.
Yep.
Really. Hip hop would not have existed without specifically Puerto Rican. Specifically, Cubans were here, Haitians were here, Dominican Republic was here, everybody was here. All of South America been in the Bronx, okay? But Puerto Ricans in particular sided with the black folk here, and the Jamaicans were coming in as well. And this group of Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, and American blacks made hip hop. Not American blacks, not Puerto Rican, not Jamaican. All of them made the culture.
At all. You know how many times I had to wait downstairs? Oh, you can't come upstairs. My mom or my pops, Morenos, Cocolo, like, you gotta wait outside. You know how many times that happened to me? Like, my older brother, my older sister. Yeah, they don't really fuck with black people like that. You see what I'm saying? Like, us as black people, we're so accepting of other cultures. The fact of the matter is that we've accepted Puerto Rican people into our culture, but Puerto Ricans have never accepted us into theirs. And we're not mad at that. Nobody is like, yo, they won't give us credit for merengue or some fucking shit like that. Like, huh?
I mean, my personal view, because I'm going to go in a second, I really got to think on it more. I don't want to answer without really hearing the context of both, you know, MC's real perspective. My thing about it is it's a catch-22 in hip-hop, y'all. And this is the catch-22 that I want y'all to discuss. And then I'll come back, you know, on another day. The catch-22 is hip-hop was kind of a response to racism, right? It was a response to a lot of things, but it was a response to racism. So we start making hip-hop. So with that, we could either perpetuate the same racism we were fighting against, or we could move different. So that's kind of the catch-22 of this conversation. Every group has people that don't like each other. So if you say Puerto Ricans don't like blacks or Cubans don't like blacks, or like no matter what you do, every group on earth has people that don't like other people. That's just what it is,
Well, I just recently interviewed Tariq Nasheed. We're gonna get that interview out for you guys. I know we ran it, and we wanted to make sure that it's at the best quality possible. Some of y'all probably caught it in the live. But from my understanding, his film, Microphone Check, and had a great understanding about it. It's a really dope film. I just saw it not too long ago. It's about, basically taking credit for what you created, right? And just because a certain group participated doesn't mean that they created it. I think that
I agree.
I think that, no one's saying that don't get involved. I think that it's one of those things where it's like, look, man, like, just give credit where credit's due. And that's fine. Because, again, this is not our first rodeo at this as Black Americans. I mean, we lost rock and roll like that. We lost country music like that because, yes, we opened the door for everybody to come in and we didn't state our claim on what we built. And just to be perfectly honest, from a mainstream perspective, it's no longer ours. I mean, we see the flack that somebody like Beyonce, who is a Black woman from Texas, is getting for jumping in the country, and she's jumping in a genre that her ancestors built, So
I agree.
I don't know who Ron is showing on the screen right now, so don't blame me for that. But I'm saying all that to say it's not meant to be divisive, and I don't think that just stating factual information and stating just taking credit for what you built and what you created has to be a divisive thing, and that's the part where I don't understand. Where, if there were Puerto Rican pioneers that were missing out, let's talk to them, let's interview them, and again, as a journalist myself and interviewing Tariq Nasheed, from what I understand, and it was covered in the interview as well, he reached out to, the would-be Puerto Rican pioneers or Hispanic pioneers, and nobody reached back to tell their story. And it was the Trixies, the first break dancer. He interviewed him. Mel's in there. Coke LaRock's in there. Cornbread, the first graffiti artist in there out of Philly. Shout out to Cornbread. And so at the end of the day, again, it doesn't have to be a divisive thing. If we're missing out anybody in the historical aspect of it, let's get their names out there. And if they're no longer here, let's get their families out there so they can tell their side and what they pioneered. But just to go out there and say a group of people did this and that, and we're talking about something that's like, 40, 50 years ago, and we can't actually put names to it, it just seems a little bit disingenuous. So, but as far as, and I'm sure Lord Jamar said a lot more, KRS did too. KRS had a whole PowerPoint.
I'm not going to argue with either gentleman because they were there. I was not. Right. So they're going to win that argument. You guys were there,
Right. Well, that's the thing, though. And that's one of the things that needs to be highlighted, too. Even they're too young to really be there. Because, I mean, how old is KRS-One in 1973, really? How old is, it's like they can tell, their perspectives from their era. Like I was telling my friend, man, I'm from Atlanta. I remember the Atlanta rap scene and all that stuff from when I was, growing up as a kid. But I can't sit here and definitively tell you what was going on in Jelly Bean out here in Atlanta in the 80s. I can't do that. I was a kid, or even in the early 90s. I was not outside at all. I was outside playing on my tricycle and shit. Like, I wasn't out, you know what I mean? So I can't definitively be like, nah, man. No, Dallas Austin, it didn't go down like that. It went down like this. Like, no.
I know what you mean, and it's like some people are talking about me saying hip hop is a response to racism. If you don't believe that, just look into the history of America, and you can see for yourself if racism played a factor in us making our own music. The reason why I say that is because history is important, and how we talk about it is important, and how we react to things that we don't like. People are saying that we're not getting the credit. I want you to find me a place in America where they ever gave us credit for creating something. What year was that? So the fact that they're not giving us credit, well, what did they ever get us credit for? If I broke down how much that we as a culture invented, it would leave not much left on the table for everybody else. I mean, and I'm being serious. I mean, literally writing, period. I could show you where the alphabet, that we use today can be traced back to our ancestors. So
yeah, and I grew up on the whole narrative that Kool Herc, the godfather of hip hop, he still is, and him being Jamaican made it where it was like a notion that Jamaicans started hip hop. But when you start digging a little bit deeper into it, when Herc came over here, he was gravitating to American music, Black American music, James Brown specifically, and again, and a few others. But let's just zero in on James Brown. That whole merry-go-round technique comes off of Give It Up, Turn It Loose's live version, where it's like clap your hands, stump your feet, and all of that. And that's Clyde Stupplefield, James Brown's drummer, another Black American. And so you have Herc coming over here playing that music because that's what the people in the park wanted to hear. So the Black American influence is inescapable. It's not like Herc came over here and start playing music from the Caribbean that started hip hop. I mean, and that's knock. That's just, that's just history. You know what I'm saying?
I gotta put some context on what KRS is saying. I think what KRS is trying to say is that it was a lot of people from different places, but they all lived in New York. And in New York is where they created the melting pot of cultures, and then hip hop emerged from that. So I don't think he's taking credit from Black people. I think he's just saying it was a melting pot of a bunch of different things. You know what I mean? So
again, created and participating are two different things. No one's saying that other people didn't participate, and I think that hip hop got stronger as more people participated in it. Hip hop got stronger when the Beastie Boys participated in the way that they did and made License to Ill. That's an important moment for Def Jam, for hip hop. Shit, Rick Rubin. It's an important moment for hip hop, Def Jam, and all of that. They participated. No one's saying Rick Rubin created hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, creating and participating are two different things, and that's fine.
Creating, they would have to educate me on where they think or who they think created it. I don't know who created it specifically. Yes, I know Black people created it, but just like specific people, they would have to break that down for me.
Well, they broke that down on microphone check, so you got to check that out. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, I understand Fat Joe's point. You about to head out?
Yeah, I got to run, man.
Well, let me, before I get to the super chats, I'm going to ask you to ask Crooked Eye, does he consider Tupac? I know he's going to say he considers Tupac a lyricist. Why do people not consider Tupac a lyricist?
Tupac is a lyricist. I'm saying it myself. Now, the reason why they don't consider him a lyricist is because he's using the everyday words that we would use. So,
and I would ask him, what does he think about that?
Yeah, so being that he's not cannabis, people are like, oh, he's not a lyricist. But lyricism just means your ability to convey a message, a multi-contextual message in the best way possible. So, yes, Tupac would be a lyricist. You know what I mean? That's all.
It is. I mean, I appreciate you, Leroy, man. Give me the notes on your conversation.
But hey, I will, man. I'm gonna see. And remember my dream, y'all. One day, man, we gonna meet up, have a good time, man. Everybody, me, you, Ron, people in the chat. We gonna meet up, have a weekend, man, at a mansion somewhere with the music. And we gonna make it pop, man. Have a good time. Quit being all like you people always mad. Like you gotta relax. But I
gotta relax. All right, brother. Appreciate you dropping in.
Yes,
Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, I understand Fat Joe's point. Hip hop is not just rapping, MCing. Hip hop consists of DJing, MCing, graffiti, and breaking. But Jermaine, but even with the breaking, Trixie, it was a Black American, is documented as the first breakdancer. Cornbread, Black American, documented as the first graffiti artist. MCing, Coke LaRock documented, and he's from North Carolina, Black American as well. And that can also go back to Pigmeat Martin, whatever. And DJing, come on. DJ. Stephon Young with the super chat says, damn, Mike, who was that? Ron sent me a text on who that was. Let's see. Ron says that is Lainey Wilson, country superstar. Google her or check out her IG. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says, although the origins of DJing and MCing were dominated by Black men, Latinos had a heavy participation in the origins of graffiti and breaking. But did they create it? Again, participating and creating are two different things. Let's see. We got some more in the super chat. Boom, boom, boom. All right. I think we're going to go to the reasonable doubt conversation. Or did I even finish everything I was talking about with the features? I think that conversation kind of has came and went because y'all took me on another route with the other joint. But let me go through these features. I'm gonna go through this again. I think I stopped at Money, Power, Respect with DMX. Money, Power, Respect with DMX. That was a breakthrough moment. DMX let the world know he was coming, and then he came through and kicked down the doors and changed everything up. It's interesting that he did this on a feature that was kind of one of the albums that symbolized the shiny suit era, and he is the shiny suit era killer. Cannabis on Beats from the East. Whew. Cannabis's feature run, there could be a whole documentary on what Cannabis did in the late 90s with his feature run. Cannabis's legacy is very strong, and many of us who appreciate lyricists and lyricism were wowed by Cannabis. I threw my notebooks away when I heard a few of Cannabis verses. I was like, I got to step it all the way up. I remember J. Cole saying something like that too. Cannabis is an influence to us all. And his feature run was something to behold when it happened. I don't know how well it aged for the current generation or the new generation, or if y'all feel the same way about it. But when I heard him on Beats from the East, first time I heard Beats from the East, man, Chris Lover and Poon Daddy played it, and y'all know Chris Lover is Ludacris. I remember Luda saying before and after that song was played, yo, that man went crazy. And to hear somebody rhyming after Redman, and yeah, Cannabis on Fantastic Four is insane too, and Pun, Nori, and Cam are on there. But to hear Cannabis go after somebody like a Redman who had a crazy verse as well on there and do what he did, I was in awe, man. I was like, this is one of the best features I ever heard. And it had to be on the list. And even if it's not a banger or if it's something that didn't like penetrate the culture in a way where the song was played 27,000 times a day, I thought it deserved to be on this list. 50 Cent on How We Do. You guys kind of put me onto that because initially I left this off of my short list. And I think about how big of a deal it was for Game and 50 to get together and make that, and what happened after and what transpired after, and how big of a song it was. And Dr. Dre actually produced How We Do too. And 50 had a lot of scene-stealing features, at least in that time period. You got So Seductive, you got Magic Stick with Kim. But this one, 50 was rapping like crazy on here. And 50 was not just out here to do a hook or contribute to the hook in whatever way. 50 was out here to show like, yo, man, I can out-rap this guy. 50 came in there to rap. And How We Do was a banger, and it was a hit for its time. It is a hit now, and I thought it was important enough to put on this list. Now, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Notorious Thugs. Bro, yeah, likes in the building. Get the likes up, get the likes up. Bone Thugs and Harmony on Notorious Thugs. Man, they made the great Notorious B.I.G. change his style up. And to me, and no disrespect to Wish, but I've always thought the big three in Bone Thugs was busy, crazy, and lazy. And if we want to do it in order, crazy, busy, and lazy. And all three of those guys showed up. They came to do what they had done before. I remember when they got on the points, and they was like a fish out of water on the points. They killed it. They kind of stuck them in at the end. There was a lot of people on the points. Very underrated posse cut. And they made it where you're like, yo, who is this? Well, Notorious Thugs, Biggie, the great Notorious B.I.G. had to go out there and adjust to them. And they brought their A game. I don't even really know who had the best verse on Notorious Thugs. I lean more towards Crazy because I'm a Crazy fan. Busy did his thing. Lazy did his thing. Biggie came with a verse that changed up the whole flow of the upbeat or the double time flow of New York for the years to come. That Armed and Dangerous, Ain't Too Many Can Bang With Us, straight up. We heard that style over and over again, and that was birthed on the fact that Biggie had to compete with Bone on some level on this record. So I thought that was important enough. Jay-Z's feature on Maya's The Best of Me remix. We still hear that from, you go out to the club right now, you're going to hear that. At first, I had Jay-Z, Money in the Thing. Ron made a great point. It didn't age as well. I think it's a great verse from him. I think it's a great appearance from him. But the notable feature and one of the best R&B rap collaborations that we've seen, it's definitely Jay-Z getting on Maya's The Best of Me. Like Carolina Blue Kicks, hottest nigga on the block, used to Willie Bicycle since I was 6. High school, crossover, wave to wave picks. Music is the same shit. Yeah, he killed it. So that had to be on here. Nicki Minaj, Monster at 15. Monster's important. It is what it is. I think that's the record that kind of started it all for Nicki in that facet. I kind of view Monster in the same way that I view Q-Tip setting Busta Rhymes up on Scenario. I think Kanye West set Monster up for Nicki to win. He had the right people on there. He had the right sound on there that was going to work for her. And he just let loose. And she went out there and did her thing and had somebody like a Kanye and Jay-Z on there. Rick Ross has some words on there too, but that song is about launching the artist Nicki Minaj in the same way that Scenario was about launching Busta. So I think that had to be on here. That's too important for its era to leave off. I didn't initially have Yo-Yo, MC Lyte, and Queen Latifah's Wanna Be Down remix on here at first. But then I thought about it, and I thought about how important Queen Latifah's appearance on there is, and just Yo-Yo and MC Lyte. Like, how often did we get, especially in that time period, did we get MC Lyte and Queen Latifah on the record together? And not to mention throwing Yo-Yo in there, who was very, very dope. I think Yo-Yo's extremely underrated. Putting that West Coast in there, and it's a classic. It's one of those records that stood the test of time, and it had to be on here. Lil' Kim on All About the Benjamins. Kim got on All About the Benjamins with, like I said in the previous show, All About the Benjamins is the greatest hip-hop posse cut of all time. You got Diddy's best verse on there. You got Biggie closing it out in a big way over an insane Jackson 5 sample. You got Jadakiss on there and Styles P and Sheek Luch in there going crazy in the shining moment. Wanna rumble with the B, huh? Throw the hex on the whole family. Dressed in all black like the Omen. Now, if you want to go on there and outshine some of the best at that time and the best at the time with Biggie coming right after you, like, really, as great as Biggie's verse is, fuck a state pen, fuck hoes at Penn State, the song could have actually went off with Kim's verse, and that's crazy to say. After that, number 12, I got Biggie on Can't You See. Said this before, and I'll say it again. It is the greatest rap verse on an R&B song ever. It's my opinion. I think it is. So again, Biggie on the Big Payback sample in the Bad Boy era. What's not to like, right? Breakthrough time. Number 11, we got Snoop Dogg on Deep Cover. It's a breakthrough moment for Snoop Dogg. That started the buzz. People who are old enough to remember and were around at that time. You're like, who is this guy? Creep with me. As of, oh, no. You already know what it is. Snoop Doggy Dogg. I started to put Snoop Doggy Dogg on there, but I just put Snoop Dogg. UGK, Big Pimpin', number 10. It's a big record for everybody. It's a big record for UGK and their legacy. It's a big record for Pimp C. They still talk about Pimp C in the fur coat out there with Gloria Velez. Shout out to Gloria Velez. They still talk about how that music video broke the bank. They still talk about Bun B's verse on there and how Jay had to go in there and add a different verse or an extra verse, excuse me. And it was one of the biggest records of its time. And it was a collaboration that was risky. We didn't see coming. You had Timbaland with UGK and Jay-Z. Who saw that coming? And it worked. Biggie got another one on here. Number 9, Flavor in Your Ear remix. Niggas is mad. I get more butt than ashtrays. Fuck a fair one. I get mine the fast way. Ski mask way. Nigga ransom notes. Far from handsome. But damn a nigga tote. More guns than roses. Hoses. Shaking out their boots. Invisible bully like the moose disappeared. Van Moose, you whacked me. Take your rhymes back to the factory. I see the gimmicks, the whack lyrics. The shit is depressing, pathetic. Please forget it. Yeah, when you start off a posse cut like that, that's a breakthrough moment. Once again, I know Biggie kind of has 2 breakthrough moments. We got 3 really. Dolly Baby, Mary J. Blige, Real Love, and this one. This is the one that sticks in my mind. So I got Flavor in Your Ear remix at number 9. AZ Life's a Bitch at number 8. I mean, not enough can be said about AZ's performance, appearance, all of those things on Life's a Bitch. He showed up as the only feature on possibly the greatest hip-hop album ever. And I'll say hands down, Illmatic is the greatest and the easiest most lyrical, easy listening hip-hop album ever. I think anybody worth their salt who knows what they're talking about has to have Illmatic in their top 3. And for him to be the only feature in there and to perform at that level, you got to give credit where credit's due, man. That's one of the greatest verses of all time, one of the greatest features of all time. And Life's a Bitch, in my opinion, is one of the greatest songs of all time. So he could have actually been lower than this. But number 8, AZ Life's a Bitch. Twista Po Pimpin', that kind of, at number 7. Controversial pick right there. I just remember when that song dropped. Bone Thugs and Harmony was running everything. And especially when it comes with the fast flow and all those things. And there was nobody competing with that. The closest competitor, it really wasn't a close competitor. I mean, I remember when Hay came out with Crucial Conflict, it was clear that Bone was kind of the influence to a certain degree with the flow and the double time. And shout out to Chicago. I know y'all been doing that for a minute. But when Po Pimpin' dropped, when Do or Die dropped Po Pimpin', and I heard that last verse, I assumed that the guy on the last verse was in the group because I didn't know Twista at the time. And when I went to Sam Goody and I looked on the back of that CD, oh, that's a good one, Brian G. CeeLo and Get Up, Get Out. Damn. Might have to rework this list a little bit. Honorable mention list going to be lit. But anyway, I looked on the back of that CD and I saw featuring Twista. I'm like, wait a minute. This guy's not in that group. I didn't buy the CD. I was going to buy that CD if Twista was in that group. And I went back and listened to that verse today right before I put this list out just to think, did I rank this too high? And when I went back and listened to that verse, man, Twista was doing everything, man. Like, he was lyrical on there. Like, he was spitting some pimp shit. He was doing some game spitter shit in double time. And he was creating flows that I had never heard before, but these flows continued on. Like, look at the ladies with the open lips and the provoking hips and never got to tell them any lies. I've been looking in the city skies. When he said that, Peanut Butter Complex is some pretty guys. And the guy, not we got to be right. I was like, yo, man. No, she coming like an ocean coast. See, I'm getting tongue-tied right now. LP with the super chat says 3,000 international players. Nas live at the barbecue. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says Ghostface special delivery remix is missing. honest with you guys, man, as a Ghostface fanatic, I was underwhelmed with the special delivery remix appearance. If y'all would have said Ghostface's verse on the game, Pete Rock shit, with MC Ultra, now I can get with that. Number 6, I got Outkast International Players in. It's another song whose legacy grew over time. You know, when you got Outkast and UGK collaborating, it wasn't the first time. First time we heard that was Tough Guy. Andre did his thing on there too, Big Boy as well. But at the time, the collaboration, in my opinion, was when 8Ball and MJG featured Outkast on Put Your Hands Up. Those guys went crazy on there. Everybody went crazy on there. But when International Players Anthem dropped, and I know Project Pat used the track first because I'm a 3-6 fanatic, and I was kind of like, and then Dre comes in there with no beat, and then basically does what he does, and then the video comes, and they basically theme the video off of his verse. Has Andre 3000 getting married, and you got the whole South at a wedding with Pimp C right there in the front row, and then Pimp C comes in right when the beat comes in, and then you got Big Boy on some, basically letting you know what could happen. Ask Paul McCartney. The lawyers couldn't stop. But it's like, what do you say? What is the verse? It's like, that's like making it rain every month on schedule. Get your parasol on, brother, because it's gonna get wetter. Better prepare you for the seasicle. She's supposed to spend it on the baby, but see, she don't. Michael Williams with the super chat says Young G should have been one of Big's features on this list. Big got so many great features. He's the feature king. It's crazy. The way he switched gears is crazy. Got lawyers watching lawyers, so I won't go broke. The way he switched gears on Can't Stop the Rain, that final verse, man, Big was hitting in high gear for sure. And then number 5, I got Busta Rhymes Scenario. I mean, do I even need to go into that, man? Like, Q-Tip, Tribe, Leaders of the New School, that song set up Busta Rhymes' career to be the career that it became. But I mean, when I go back and listen to Scenario, like I said about Kanye on Monster with Nicki, it was a conscious effort to have Busta come in there and clean this song up. Even the way Q-Tip setting him up right before the verse. And it's like, I heard you rush and attack. It's like, don't violate or you'll get violated. And it's like, Q-Tip he is setting the tone and just building this thing up for him to just come in there as I combine all the juice from the mind. Heal up, reel up, coming back home, rewind. Powerful impact. Boom. The energy of it all. Now, for the people who might say that verse is overrated, it's not the most lyrical verse per se, but it's energy. And what we get from Busta Rhymes' career and what he does on stage and what he does on records most of the time. And Busta Rhymes from the 90s, it's energy. That was all energy. And the setup for that, impeccable. Number 4, Lil' Kim's Quiet Storm remix appearance. We cannot front on that, man. Do I have that too high? I think it's very high because that song was already great. That beat is iconic. The feature's iconic. The bars are iconic. Even the video's iconic. That whole red and black shit, man. Like, somebody said this earlier. I think it was Mad Max. Aura matters in hip hop, man. Like, hip hop is not a common man or woman's game. When you go out there in black leather and you got the red tints and you out here spitting that shit, like, Quiet Storm got all of that. It got the beat, it got the look, it got the flow, it got the bars, and she's going at Foxy on top of that. And then not to mention that the legacy of this verse and this appearance has grown so much over time, man. It's something that, I'm gonna be honest, when it came out, I loved it. Still love it to this day. I might not have had it this high back in the early 2000s or whatever, but in 2024, seeing how this shit has grown and how it's continuously growing, I think it deserves to be up there. What I got after that, I got Kane and Cool G Rap on the Symphony. I mean, do we even need to explain that? That feature is what kind of set off features in the first place, you know. And again, I know it's a Juice Crew Posse record, but these guys are soloists and they're solo MCs, and this was on Marley Marl's album. Jermaine Johnson with the super chat says Jim Jones' "Come Home with Me" presence was crazy. I agree, 100%. Number 2, Nas' Verbal Intercourse. This could have easily been number 1. When you are on the most lyrical rap album of all time, Only Built for Cuban Links, in my personal opinion, most lyrical hip hop album we've ever had. And Wu-Tang is the most lyrical group we've ever had. And you jump on this album and you have the best verse on this album, you're probably going to have one of the best verses of all time. Through the lights, cameras in action, glamour, glitter, and gold, I unfold the scroll, plant seeds to stampede the globe. When I'm deceased, the conquer beasts arise like yeast. To conquer peace, leaving savages to roam in the streets. Live on the run. Police paying me to give up my gun. Trick my wisdom with the system that imprisoned my son. Now, I know he recycled this verse from another session, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. You get on Only Built for Cuban Links, and you have the best verse on that album, you deserve top 5 recognition off top. And number 1, I picked this one as number 1 because it's one of the greatest hip-hop songs of all time. And it wouldn't have been one of the greatest hip-hop songs of all time if not for this feature. I got Snoop Doggy Dogg on Nothing But a G-Thing. G-Thing's not G-Thing without Snoop. And your feature went out there and made this song what it was. And it made this record a top 5 to top 10 hip-hop song of all time. And I think that it's only fair that that be the number 1 feature. I mean, I just got to be honest. Is it the most lyrical? Maybe not. But when you say 1, 2, 3 into the 4, everybody knows what's coming next. They do. And that started the wave of what we know as possibly hip-hop's greatest MC and producer combination ever. Now, say what you want about any other producer and MC combination, but I'll tell you this. I'll put the Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre combination catalog up against anybody. Mal 7 with the super chat says Nas recycled it off Deja Vu. I love Deja Vu, but you know he did recycle it, but it sounds better on Verbal Intercourse. We got Ron in the building. You still chilling in the back, or we got you in the building? I want to talk Reasonable Doubt before we get up out of here. And I know there was a T.I. topic as well, because I think T.I. gets shitted on out here, and I don't understand why. But Reasonable Doubt recently celebrated, well, not recently, yesterday, celebrated its 28th anniversary. And like I said, I've written an article before about Reasonable Doubt being the most ambitious rap album of all time. Not most ambitious rap album, most ambitious album of all time. The allure behind this album and the aura behind this album is the fact that everything this artist said that he was going to do, he did it. And he did it in spades. And I think that it's very interesting when you're able to make an album like this as your first album. First of all, he was a little older than, some of the guys who were making their debuts in the 90s. So he had a level of intelligence and experience and just living life that most of our 19, 20, 21-year-old rappers that were coming out the gate just didn't have. So there was a level of intellect that was coming with Reasonable Doubt that you weren't really getting from most debut albums that weren't, named Illmatic or something. Even when you listen to Ready to Die, Big is just raw talent. And you could see Big continuously growing after Ready to Die. That's raw talent on Things Done Changed. That's raw talent on Give Me the Loot. Jay is still raw on Reasonable Doubt, but he's refined in his life experiences, and the fact that he's been around for a minute. Yes, I'm gonna say nice things about Jay-Z, of course. Jay-Z's one of the greatest, if not. I mean, in the eyes of many, he is the greatest. I've had him as the greatest at some point in time. Reasonable Doubt is the number one album in Jay-Z's catalog, in my personal opinion, off top, because the lyricism that he is displaying on that whole album is something that he just never duplicated moving forward. And that's no disrespect to what he did moving forward. I think he, as he said, stretched the game out. He expanded his palette and he added some different elements to his game, which is fine. You can't make a Reasonable Doubt again, and that's fine too. I think that's why a lot of us draw to American Gangster, because we feel like at a certain point in a person's career, that's the closest you can get to possibly making Reasonable Doubt over again, right? It's kind of like the guy, what is it, 11, 12 years later, making an album in retrospect from where you were then and kind of updating the formula. But back to Reasonable Doubt. The bar work on there. I remember when Jay was doing his 10th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt, and he said for the concert, it's a Radio City Music Hall concert, in his rehearsals, he said he had to go back and listen to these songs over again just because of the patterns he was using, because of the words that he was using. He never utilized this style again. The level of lyricism that he was on that album set him apart from his peers at the time. But even moving forward, it kind of set him apart from him. And I think that he understood that if I keep rapping like this and rapping over people's heads, I'm only going to get so far because, people don't get it. I was one of those people who didn't get it. I'm like 14 years old when Reasonable Doubt comes out. And he's rapping in different cadences and rhyme schemes that really weren't connected with my palate like that. And obviously, when you talk about life, he's talking about things that I know nothing about at that time. But years later, that's what makes an album like Reasonable Doubt age so well. I think Mad Max said it earlier. It sounds like 70s music. Yes, it had those timeless musical themes too, where Can I Live's always going to sound good. Like that Isaac Hayes is always going to sound good. And the way he delivered it and the things that he was covering on there, you could apply what he's talking about to everyday life, even if you're not a hustler like that. So some of my favorite Jay-Z songs are on Reasonable Doubt, but by far my favorite Jay-Z mic performance, if you want to talk about from beginning to end. I mean, Politics as Usual is a strong record. Dead Presidents is a strong record. Dead Presidents 2 specifically, is probably my favorite song on the album because it's one of my favorite Jay-Z songs. But if we're taking all of the individual favoritism out of it, The Evils is special. And everything about The Evils is special. The production from Premier, the hook with the Prodigy and Snoop Dogg in there, The Murder Was the Case, is haunting. It's from a gospel record, so it already has soul in it. And the way that Jay is talking on there and what he's talking about, when he's talking about basically best friends becoming strangers, and when you get deep in the game or whatever you're into, and those people that you were once super close with, things get convoluted and things separate. You guys of all people know that I can relate to those things. You know what I mean? When you hear The Evils, and I'm sure many of you guys can relate to that too. People grow apart. Things get different. Things get murky. And The Evils is articulated perfectly. And the soundscape behind it is perfect. DJ Premier did an incredible job producing that record. There's more to producing than just beat making. And even if, and I don't know how they came together with it or if they worked on this together, but even if the samples that Premier gave Jay or the loops that he used, even for the scratching, took Jay to that place to have him make that record, That is a hell of a production job. And that is a very incredible writing job for Jay to even articulate and execute on something like The Evil. So I would say that just all things considered, The Evils is probably the best song on the album. I think the verse on Bring It On is the best verse on the album, Jay-Z's verse on there. One of the records I don't love on the album, but I get it, is Regrets. And I saw somebody the other day say Regrets was their favorite song on the album. I think Regrets wraps up the album very well. I appreciate the human side of it. I think that's the other thing about the dope boy rap in 90s. You know, because you get it with Goody Mob, you get that with Scarface too, and even UGK. They give you the balance, you know what I'm saying? They tell you about the highs, the lows, the in-betweens, the paranoia, the people you lose, the people you get that get locked up. They tell you about all of those things. And Regrets is so necessary in that capacity. I think I just don't love the production on Regrets. And, you know, there are some artists who came years later who just talk about the game and just talk about the money and talk about all the good stuff, the women, you know what I'm saying, the clubs. They don't talk about that balance, right? And I think that when you have records like Regrets on an album like Reasonable Doubt, it's very, very important. It wraps up that album perfectly. And also another low moment, I think, is Coming of Age. But I get Coming of Age as well. I think from a conceptual standpoint, it's dope. And it sounds like it was one of the first songs actually made on that album. I hear the story is Shaheem, the Rugged Child, was actually supposed to be on there instead of Memphis or something. But having Memphis on there, and it's a young Memphis too, it's a time capsule. Like Coming of Age in a vacuum, it doesn't stand up with the Politics as Usual or Can't Knock the Hustles or Brooklyn Finest and Dead Presidents and Feeling It and stuff like that. But Coming of Age is like a time capsule. And yeah, like Brian said, yeah, you don't skip it because it adds to the aesthetic of the album. It's necessary on the album. It is all right. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, we're parsing hairs when we're talking about, you know, an album like A Reasonable Doubt. Like, it's kind of like a One Time for Your Mind on Illmatic, you know? And so it's I'm sorry, people sitting here hitting me up. People skip Bring It On? I don't skip Bring It On. I think Bring It On has a timeless loop as well. DJ Premier produced the hell out of Bring It On. And the Fat Joe sample is perfect. And I love when Sauce Money and not Dr. Dre, what am I talking about? Sauce Money and Jay-Z get together. Those guys were magic together. I wish we could have gotten more collaborations from them. I wish we could get a Sauce Money and Jay-Z collaboration right now. Now, I think Jaz-O on that song was slightly out of place. Jaz-O was coming with style, and Jaz-O was a lot of style anyway. He even did that on kind of Jigga What, Jigga Who, and even before that, because Jaz-O had the flow and all of those things, and Jay was kind of, you know, repeating that flow as well with Jaz-O. But this time around, this was about the lyrics. Like Jay-Z and Sauce Money were coming to win with their lyrics. And I think Jaz-O with the, you know, John Stockton couldn't assist you, that wasn't enough for those guys or that album. And so, you know, again, I think that's where Jaz-O was at the time stylistically, but his verse is dope. But if you want to parse hairs, I don't know if that was the song for him to be on. But if you think about it, what song would he actually be on Reasonable Doubt? Because Reasonable Doubt's heavy. Cashmere Thoughts is crazy. There's no real place for anybody on there either. Brooklyn's Finest was dope because of who is on here. Big sounds incredible. I didn't love the hook. I didn't love the beat like that. You know, I love Clark Kent. He's real cool with one of my childhood friends, but I didn't love the beat for Brooklyn's Finest like that, but it's still not a skippable song. The only reason why I skip Brooklyn's Finest is because Dead Presidents 2 is right after. Feeling It, It's one of the first songs that I heard from Jay-Z. I mean, I could go on and on about Reasonable Doubt. I think Reasonable Doubt is top 20 hip hop album all time, definitely. I'm gonna have to really think about where I want to place that. That might be my next list. I think I might do a top 25 hip hop album. And that's a tough list to do. Because I used to have Akumanai extremely high, and I still do have it high, but I don't know if I could put Akumanai over Doggy Style or Illmatic justifiably, or It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back, or Paid in Full. It's gonna be difficult. The one thing that Akumanai misses that a lot of the all-time great hip-hop albums are multiple timeless bangers. I think the most timeless moment of Akumanai has become Spodioti, even more so than Rosa Parks. But I still got it really, really high just because how great it is from beginning to end. It's 72 minutes, no misses, all original music for the most part, all great instrumentation, all great lyricism, all great songwriting. So, something. Mall 7 with the super chat says, thought I was the only one who didn't like Brooklyn's Finest beat. Yeah, I didn't really love the beat. Even when we were talking about features the other day, I mean, that would have been an easy one to just throw in there because it's big, right? I don't even know if I got Brooklyn's Finest in Big's top 5 features. And I think that speaks to the record. I mean, they did their thing on it. I'm not trying to shit on it. Like, Jay is Jay on there. Like, you know, I'm varsity. I'm from Marcy. I'm varsity. Chumpy JV. Jigga Jay-Z. Like, they going in, but I think it's more so the beat I didn't love. And even in relation to the rest of the album. Like, where would y'all rank Brooklyn Finest's beat on the rest of Reasonable Doubt if we're talking about production? So, y'all think Big cooked Jay? I don't know about that. I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that. I think that's about as even as it can get. I think this is where I'm gonna go with it. In 1996, Jay-Z is a better lyricist than Biggie, but Biggie is a better overall MC. And what I mean by that, when we talk about the flow, the voice, the cadence, the comfortability, just the versatility on the mic, Big sounded great on everything. Go back, you know, I know Puff's not the most popular person right now, but I was listening to Puff talk at one of these Biggie anniversaries, and he said something that I always thought, but I never heard anybody that was around there say that. He said, when Big did the One More Chance remix, that's when he knew he had kicked in a different gear. And I agree. Once Big did that One More Chance remix, man, he hit in another gear where he had now become one of the greatest rappers of all time. Like I said, Ready to Die is raw talent. Dope album, incredible album. It's a lot of paranoia in there. He's a little mixed with he has a lot of Scarface in him on that album, to be honest. And, you know, you can hear that it was made over 2 different time periods. You can hear 93 and 94. That One More Chance remix, man, when he comes in there, first things first, I pop up. It's all the honeys, dummies, Playboy Bunny, those wanting money. It's like, oh, gosh. It's like this nigga just hit a different gear. Those are ones I like because they don't get Nathan but penetration. Unless it smells like sanitation garbage, I turn like doorknobs. Heartthrob never. Black and ugly as ever. However, I stay Gucci down to the socks. That's who's on Brooklyn's Finest. And this is somebody who is in pocket, out of pocket, hitting all kind of rhyme schemes and doing it so effortlessly and doing it in a way where it's commercially viable too. So lyrically, I could say that Jay may have got the best of them on there, but if you're just listening and just from a palatability standpoint, it's Big all day. Man, I'm 2.5 hours in. Shout out to everybody in here, man. You know what? I want y'all to hit like and subscribe. I think that might be a wrap for Wednesday's show for real. But yeah, Reasonable Doubt. I gotta put it. It's top 20, and let me know if y'all disagree with that. But I think for the next show, I might put together my top 25 hip hop albums list. Now I don't know. I don't look. I don't know if that's just too ambitious of me to try. But yeah, I guess I got to Monday, or maybe this weekend might check in with y'all. But Michael Williams with the super chat says Jay and Big were close on BK's Finest, and I love the dough, but I give Big the edge on both. On Young G's, Big smoke Jay, flow and presence, ate him up. Well, see, I'm glad you said that, Michael Williams. 97, which is where Young G's is. Big is somewhere else. Nobody, and they said I'm on the clock. Nobody was going to out-rap that guy on Can't Stop the Rain. That's why I had to have Can't Stop the Rain on the list. Because I'm sitting here listening to his verse on Can't Stop the Rain, the last one specifically. Both of them, really. But the last one specifically. I'm like, yo, this dude, who could have gotten on this song and had a better verse than him? I don't think anybody. And I do want to, before I get out of here, I do want to address Tupac Smile not being on here. I had Smile on there initially, and I just thought that the Can't Stop the Rain verse, Shadowboxing, and Renegade deserved to be on there more, and that was no slight to Pac at all. I think Pac's gift is what we hold him the highest for. Pac went out there and really didn't do features like that. When he did it, his presence was felt like I Got to Get Mine with MC Breed and obviously Smile with Scarface. But Pac's focus was more so on doing solo stuff and doing his stuff. I don't think Dr. Dre's feature on California Love deserved to be on here because, the person that was the star of that record was the person whose record it was. Now, if Pac's verse was a feature on a Dr. Dre record for California Love, it would have definitely been on there. So Pac not being on this list is not a slight to Pac at all. It just lets you know that he wasn't out here spending his time doing features per se. He was out here making his catalog, and his catalog is what has him held so high now. That's why he has, in his short time of living and short rap career, that's why he has the catalog that people who've been living performing for 20, 30 years just don't have, because he was out here making his solo stuff. So it's not really about that. Rev Run, Let's Get Married. Down with the King, that's a case for that. But I got to get that honorable mentions list together. Now, I should have that done in the next few days, but I don't know, guys. Let me know. That top 25 hip-hop albums list, is that a little bit too ambitious? Not sure. If I don't do that, I don't want to rehash my Southern MCs list because I think it's too soon. I'm going to wait for some time to go by and, and do that again. But, yeah, it's very difficult to put these lists together, guys. Do the top 25 albums? Okay. What should be the criteria? We're just going to go off of impact. Impact. If y'all notice, man, my lists are very quality based. Record sales aren't going to really determine anything here. But not to be a hypocrite, like Leroy Green would say, we got to decide when record sales count or not. I will say this. I think for an album like Get Rich or Die Trying, not only, the record sales don't quote unquote put it where it needs to be, but the quality and the fact that you were able to sell that amount of records making an album like that does go a long way. So Doggy Style, The Chronic, and Get Rich or Die Trying, they were able to do that. And I think that needs to be considered, depending on who it's up against, when we're parsing hair. So top 25 hip-hop albums of all time. I'm going to start putting together a short list It's like I did with these features. Poll everything. Yeah, I mean, I consider things when it comes to the poll, but I do, what the poll does for me, it kind of takes the personal out of it, right? Because I try to already do that. I try to take the personal, what Mike likes versus what, you know, hip hop nationally or globally likes out of it. I try to take personally what I like out of it and kind of look at everything as a whole. That's our responsibility here as journalists. But what the poll does for me, it kind of verifies, like, is this something that I just think, or is this something that, you know what I'm saying, the masses think, or am I tripping? Am I being biased? I try to take the bias out of it with the poll. You're right, you can't poll everything. You can't poll everything, but when things do get close, you do want to see what the people think. But people have a lot of recency bias. And there's a lot of regency bias. I do that too. And we all have our favorites, and we can tell who people's favorites are. If I were to go on here right now and say Kendrick or Cole, I wonder what the poll would say. I know before when we did Kendrick and Cole, the poll was overwhelmingly Cole. I wonder if that's the same now. But hit like and subscribe, everybody. I appreciate y'all tuning in today. We had a great show today. We got through a list. We got that list done. And according to hip hop, the percentage of heads who know words in the crowd. Anyway, yes, hit like and subscribe. I appreciate y'all joining me today. We're gonna do this again next week for sure. And got some new music coming up this week. Can't wait to talk about as well. And I'm going to get together a list because it seems like things go right when I put together a list. I'll dedicate the time to do that top 25 hip hop albums. I know I'm going to piss some people off. I'm going to have my justifications for what I put there. And I'm going to try to not be so old school with it too. And I'll make sure that I don't want to say that. I'm not going to say that everybody's going to get represented because at that point it gets biased, and I'm just going to let the best albums get ranked. How about that? Peace and love, everybody. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all next week. Mic check. 1 2 1 2.